Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Bhagavad-gītā. Today, it's a very important topic, the topmost education. And we are actually speaking from the chapter 9, verse 2 of Bhagavad-gītā, which is a very, very important verse and often quoted by Srila Prabhupada. So we will quickly say our Mangalacharan prayers and invoke the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara, and then we will begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So very important topic, the topmost education, chapter 9 verse 2 of Bhagavad-gītā. rāja-vidyā rāja-guhyaṁ pavitram idam uttamam pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ su-sukhaṁ kartum avyayam. Raja-vidyā, the king of education; rāja-guhyaṁ, the king of confidential knowledge; pavitram, the purest; idam, this; uttamam, transcendental; pratyakṣa, by direct experience; avagamam, understood; dharmyaṁ, the principle of religion; su-sukhaṁ, very happy; kartum, to execute; avyayam, everlasting. Very important words. Every word is important here. Of course, that is the case with every verse, but especially in this verse. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. Purport. This chapter of Bhagavad-gītā is called the King of Education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. So this is why we have to understand the context of everything that we read. Whatever we have read before, if some verses are taken in isolation, they may, seemingly allude to different meanings, different purposes. But therefore, we have to integrate all that understanding with the unifying principle, which is devotion. So if we take out the devotional aspect and then karma yoga, jnana yoga, demigod worship, impersonal Brahman, all these things are there mentioned, and even fame in this world, everything is mentioned. But then if we take it without context, then we will totally misunderstand this. Among the principal philosophers in India are Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Yajnavalkya, Shandilya, and Vaishvanara. These are the Shaddarshan. Um, Karma Mimamsa. I forgot the whole, all the six names. I need to brush up on those names. So there are so many. Actually, those six are some of the things, but there are others also, like Vaibhashika. Um, what is that? 226, 2.26 verse Bhagavad-gītā. Prabhupada explains. What is the other word? Vaibhashika and um, Hare Krishna. Lokayatikas. Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. So there are so many philosophies. This is Shaddarshan. Shaddarshan means six types of philosophy that are known, and the proponents of such philosophies are mentioned here. And of course, after the six, then and finally there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. So there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this ninth chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and different kinds of philosophy. See, this is the thing. The other day, one person was arguing with me. Oh, he's a Hindu, but he was just arguing, um, you know, about Quran, and he was saying that, oh, you do not know much about Quran. You haven't read it. I have read the Quran. I said I don't need to read to understand Quran. Now, whatever philosophy is there in the Quran is already there in the Bhagavad-gītā. Quran is not at loggerheads with the Vedic philosophy. Now, many people, especially the Hindutvavadis, they don't agree to this. There may be differences in details, but the ultimate philosophy is the same. But the details, yes, there may be things, and maybe the people who have expounded them and followed them and had their opinions, the interpreters, they may have some different kinds of views, sometimes even radical. But if you take it at face value, okay, you will find the truths that are already mentioned in our Shastras are there in the Quran. Now, I have read just a little bit of Quran, not very much, very, very little. But I find parallels. First of all, if you see even the first verse of the Quran, it says, "All glories to all merciful Lord." I mean, that is always true, right? It can never be contested. So, I mean, you cannot deny that aspect. Now, so when he was arguing that you do not know Quran, I mean you have to read Quran to know what is that philosophy. You're only reading one book and or just a few books like Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's all you Hare Krishna people know, and you don't know all the other Purans of our religion and also the scriptures of other religions. You don't really know, so you're not aware of. But this is the thing. So in the Gita Mahatmya, Shankaracharya says, Gita Sugita Kartavya Kimanyaihi Shastravistaraihi Yasvayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmadvene Srita. The fourth verse of Gita Mahatmya says, Kimanyaihi Shastravistaraihi. What is the use of any other scripture once you have Bhagavad Gita? Because Bhagavad Gita consists knowledge and philosophy that is found in other systems of philosophy, as well as it has aspects of philosophy which are nowhere else to be found, and that makes it, yeah, Quran plus Hadith, yes. So that makes it Quran plus Hadith. So, so all the philosophies that are there in the Islamic literature, or whether it's Christian literature or any philosophy, everything is included in the Bhagavad Gita in concise format, and in the Bhagavatam in much more detail. And the book that follows the Bhagavatam is the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is based on the Srimad Bhagavatam. That also contains everything. And furthermore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Jiva Goswami have written in the Shad Sandarbha and the Krishna Sandarbha. Krishna Sandarbha by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Shad Sandarbha by Jiva Goswami. All kinds of philosophy and how bhakti is the Bhakti Yoga mentioned in our pages of our scriptures, especially Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam, is the topmost description of religion. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti rathokshaje ahaitu kya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. So that highest, it's not about Hindu, it's not about Muslim, it's not about Christian, it's not about Buddhism. No. Sanatana Dharma means it's eternal religion. Every other nomenclature of any other religious format is dated, whereas Sanatana Dharma is undated. There's no date, there's no start date, and there's no end date. And every other dated religion is an offshoot of Sanatana Dharma. It has aspects of Sanatana Dharma in a partial sense, not in its fullness. Like nobody can say in any other religious form, in any other religious forum, that they have a clear understanding of the form of God and the relationships that one can have with Him, the kind of devotees that exist in the spiritual world, how the spiritual world looks like, and what kind of world that is. And even this material world, the detail that we have, nobody can match. No other scripture can match. And we're not saying this to just, win points over somebody else. Knowledge has to be sought. That should be the aim. That's why king of knowledge, rāja-vidyā. Now, wherever you can find that knowledge, if it was found in Islam or Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism, or it is to be sought. But the thing is, whatever is there in the Vedic scriptures, it has whatever other forms have, we already have, and we have things which others do not have. And that makes it, this Vedic science, the supreme. And therefore we stick to this. And that's why we don't switch to any other, especially those who are convinced. They don't need to switch to any other thing. Because kim va parairishvara? Kim anyai shastra vistare? So that is in the Gita Mahatmya for Bhagavad-gītā, and for Srimad Bhagavatam, the second verse of Bhagavatam says, Kim va parairishvara? Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parairishvara? What is the use of any other book than Bhagavatam? Because everything is already there in the Bhagavatam. So anyway, if we read Krishna Sandarbha, which I have not read, and Shad Sandarbha, which I have also not read, Prabhupada quotes from there, and that's how we know a little bit. Like there is an example. This is Krishna Sandarbha. No, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book is not Krishna Sandarbha. I think it's Krishna Samhita, Sri Krishna Samhita or something. Well, there's a sample of it you can find in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila, chapter 9. Krishna Sandarbha, that is not. That's the wrong name. Okay, 949. If you see 949 purport, okay, the scriptures of the Buddhist cult are chiefly based on argument and knowledge and logic, and they contain 9 chief principles. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated the Buddhists in their argument, they could not establish their cult. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated Buddhists here, and he defeated Chandkazi, who was a Mohammedan, and he defeated the Tattvavadis, the Madhvas, although they're Vaishnavas, but they have this tinge of karmakanda and liberation being the highest, and varnashram system being the way to go forward. So although they are in the line, but he defeated them in the sense that he presented a much higher and much more superior method of attaining the highest goal. He also won his arguments against Venkata Bhatt, who's in the Shri Sampradaya, who, of course, he's also Vaishnava, they're all Vaishnavas, until dāsa though. So Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya is not very much explored in Shri Sampradaya. And likewise, of course, I don't think he had a direct confrontation with Christianity, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But I mean, it's an Abrahamic religion, and Judaism also no. But it's pretty much, I mean, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, they are pretty much the same thing in different ways. Now, of course, the proponents of their own philosophy may differ in their opinions, but it's pretty much Abrahamic religions. Okay? So, all kinds of philosophies, and he even spoke with Buddhists, we have said. Mayavadis, he defeated. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Prakashananda Saraswati, and logicians like Keshav Bharati. So nobody could actually defeat Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in any argument. Now, this is stated here. Tarka Pradhana Bauddha Shastra Navamate Tarke Khandila Prabhu Napare Sthapite. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur states that according to the Buddhist school, there are two ways of understanding philosophy, Hinayana and Mahayana. Now, the Buddhist path, there are 9 principles, and he states those 9 principles, and he explains them. And this you can read. I'm not going to read it now, but it's quite a lengthy explanation, and point for point, he defeats all those points. Because if you partially represent anything, then there are bound to be mistakes. You have to fully represent it. So Buddha, he rejected the Vedas. So therefore, there will be some kind of, discrepancies or incompatibilities. So anyway, those are explored here. You can read this. And this is a point-for-point rebuttal of the Buddhist points. So similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a conversation with Chand Kazi as well. And Chand Kazi admitted his defeat. And similarly, another group of Mohammedans he met when he was crossing the river or something. Then there also he defeated. So there again, of course, there's no purport like this. But if we, I think, get hold of that Sri Krishna Samhita or something that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, where he, rebutted all these things, we may be able to find, some answers to that. So that is a glimpse. So if you read like that, then we will understand. And actually, I was very happy to read yesterday that this Harinamamrita Vyakaranam, the Vyakaranam means grammar in Sanskrit. Sanskrit grammar, the most famous exposition on Sanskrit grammar and the rules of Sanskrit grammar come from Panini Ashtadhyayi. So Panini Ashtadhyayi is a compilation of grammatical rules by the Muni called Panini. That has been the benchmark of Sanskrit grammatical rules. Now, Panini, although it's quite established, but Jiva Goswami wrote a book, Harinamamrita Vyakaranam, how to learn Sanskrit grammar with Krishna's names. So it's a very Krishna conscious Sanskrit grammatical study. And I read this in the preface of that book. Okay, I did not purchase that book. I want to have a copy of that, because there is one devotee in ISKCON called Matsyavatar Das, Matsyavatar Prabhu. He translated that book, Harinamamrita Vyakaranam, and I want to have that. It will be good, because Srila Prabhupada said we have to teach a little bit of Sanskrit. Sanskrit basics and basics of grammar should be taught. And what is the best way? What else is the best way to teach than through our own sampradaya, right? So, if we have to teach, and even if maybe in the future we can conduct those courses for devotees. So I want to base it on that. So it's very Krishna conscious. So now, in that it is stated in the preface, Matsyavatar Prabhu says that he proves the point as well, how Jiva Goswami's Harinamamrita Vyakaranam is much superior to Panini's grammar, Panini's Ashtadhyayi as well. So it's the best of all systems of grammatical Sanskrit grammatical rules, Jiva Goswami stands as the pinnacle. So I mean, our what I'm saying is our sampradaya has the essence of everything, the essence of everything in every angle. We just have to open our eyes and study. If you just read Prabhupada's books as well, how much you will get. Many people say, oh, you only know Prabhupada's books and you don't know different philosophies. Actually, Prabhupada covers all these different philosophies. We only did not pay attention only. That's the only problem. So if you really pay attention, then we can get every answer here. In fact, like some people say that, oh, my Sanskrit is good. I'm telling you, they are fooled. Because my Sanskrit is not good at all. I can't even construct a sentence. But when I read the verses, I can understand to a major extent. Because I follow the Prabhupada's translation of each word to word meanings. I usually follow the word to word meanings. And eventually we see those repetitions of those words, in different slokas and in different contexts. So we get an idea of what they're, talking about. And of course, this is not about just Sanskrit grammar. We have to have Prabhupada's mercy in order to understand. Otherwise, we will come to a different conclusion. We have to have the Guru's um, blessings. Then only we can understand. Uh, so now, Gauranga Prabhu is saying, what is it? Hare Krishna Prabhuji always to Prabhupada and happy Holi. Well, we don't really celebrate Holi in our Sampradaya. It's more of a, although Krishna played, that's a different thing. But it's basically a social movement. I mean, social festival now, customary festival among Hindus. But in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we especially celebrate Gaura Purnima, which is our new year, in fact. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance day. We don't really celebrate Holi. So, coming back here, and finally, there is Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Sutra. So, there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now, the Lord says that this ninth chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and different kinds of philosophy. You see, it is the most confidential because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding the difference between the soul and the body. Now, this is what see, and the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. So this is what Srila Prabhupada defines as confidential. Why is it said confidential? Because I mean, it's not that much of a secret. It's not that this book is hidden somewhere or we are having some private live stream. No, it is a public live stream. But still, it is confidential because to have, first of all, the piety to take part in these discussions, to take part in these meetings where Krishna Katha is being propagated, that itself is very rare, especially so in Kali Yuga. So it is although it is open, but not many people know about it. Uh, of course, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, that can change. Hmm? They will make sure that the glories of the Lord are published everywhere, and then more and more people will come to know. So, but either way, this is the thing that it is very confidential, and confidential in the sense, especially in the case of knowledge, because soul and body. Now, so much knowledge is there in different fields, but nobody knows that we are actually the soul and not the body. Not even the heart surgeons who actually do open heart surgery. They don't even know that the soul is sitting in the heart, the Paramatma is sitting there. They are dealing. I mean, doctors are dealing with death and birth, but they don't actually know what is death and birth. They think it's a lump of chemicals, a lump of cells. They are coming together, and then a clump of cells are going out. So That's what they think it is medically. So this is a very incomplete understanding. So confidential knowledge starts from soul and body, the difference between them. And the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. I mean, that is a logical, conclusion, right? So if I'm soul and not the body, it's okay. So now this body does not belong to me. Then what belongs to me? Or who do I belong to? And that's the next question. So then there is God, then our relationship with Him, and God's relationship with everything. And that's how we understand Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are His part and parcel, and we are actually related to Him. And to engage in His service is our natural disposition, constitutional position. So that's why He's the King of Knowledge. And this ninth chapter is about that. So reading on, generally people are not educated in this confidential knowledge, they are educated in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and many huge universities, but there is unfortunately no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. You see, the most important subject is the least studied. Look at this. This is Maya. Who will, if you if you have to do something most important, of course you will do that first. Yeah, you will have many things to do, but the most important thing will be done first, right? At least that's the order of things to do. A sane person would do like that. But we are putting away the most important thing in our life, which we are actually the soul. We are the soul, and we don't even care to understand who we are, but we're very busy playing with the toys of this material world in the name of engineering, politics, and sports, and you know multifarious subjects. Thousands. Nranam santi sahasrashah. Unfortunate. The Bhagavad-gītā, especially from the second chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable and that the soul is not perishable. Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktaha sharirinaha. That is a confidential part of knowledge, simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. That means what? It is a negative information about the soul. That means what the soul is not. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be cut into pieces. It cannot be moistened. It cannot be withered. It cannot. It cannot die. Okay. This is not what the soul is, the body. So what is it? What it can do? What it should do? Like it is said, we should not be, like we should tolerate and we should not be agitated by the, happiness and distress that comes our way. So, okay, we should not, we cannot, we are not. But what are we? So, the negative definition of the soul helps us to separate it from the matter, but we cannot really define the soul positively. And that is the that is called incomplete knowledge. But complete knowledge means there should be positive description of the soul. Okay, so it has a size of 1/10,000 the part of the tip of the hair. Fine, okay. It illuminates the entire body. Okay, is actually the servant and part and parcel of Krishna. Mamayavamshu jivaloki jivabhuta sanatana. And how that part serves the whole. Okay, there are so many descriptions. Of course, the whole Bhagavad-gītā is about the part, convincing the part to become a servant of the whole, convincing Arjuna to become the servant of Krishna. And then Bhagavatam has descriptions of devotees who have, in that way, come to the point of surrender and being engaged in the service of the Lord. So in this way, the whole thing is explained nicely. This is the positive information about the soul. That's why Bhagavatam is called Amalam Puranam. It is a spotless Puran. There's full positive information about the soul and the super soul, everything. Chaitanya Charitamrita even more so, even more intense, like that. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body and that when the body is finished or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void or becomes impersonal. But actually, that is not the fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from the body? See, when the soul is imprisoned in the body, in the imprisoned state, when you're so tied up, we are so active here. And when we are liberated, completely, breaking free from all this chain or bondage, we are, I want to say, imprisoned at that time. Like we cannot do anything. What is that? That's not a natural or a very logical conclusion. It is always active. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karma krit karite hyavasha karma sarvah prakriti jair gunai 3.5 of Bhagavad-gītā. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karma krit. Not even a moment we can stay without doing anything. So it is not possible to just become impersonal or void. This knowledge is the purest form of all activities as explained in the Vedic literature. In the Padma Puran, man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the results of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. For instance, when the seed of a particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It is first a small sprouting plant, then it assumes the form of a tree, then it flowers and bears fruit, and when it is complete, the flowers and fruits are enjoyed by persons who have sown the seed of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act, and like a seed, it takes time to fructify. There are different stages. Now, some people ask, oh, why bad things are happening to good people and good things are happening to bad people? First of all, you have not studied the full life of that bad person or the good person. So, because, enjoyment and suffering come alternatingly in both the lives. Okay? But we have to understand that, oh, because I'm doing something good now, I must always experience good immediately. No, it takes time. The seed is sown. So whatever suffering I'm experiencing now, even though I'm doing good now, good means, first of all, that is all subjective. Many people think what good is, that may not be actually good. Only thing good is we come to Krishna consciousness. Everything else is actually not so good. Now, whatever we're experiencing now is a fructification of a seed that we have sown earlier this life, previous life, or many millions of lives ago. So now we are, it takes time to fructify. And how much time does it take to fructify? Well, we don't know. It's subjective. Krishna knows. So each of our activities is a seed. As you sow, so shall you reap. See? So it is important that we understand this and not just simply complain like a person who doesn't understand how things work. We should know this philosophy, and then we will not be so disturbed. Oh, why this thing is happening to me, although I'm not doing any sinful action. Well, we should know what karma is. Then we will know what it is. So, reading on, the sinful action may have already stopped within the individual, but the results or the fruit of that sinful action are still to be enjoyed. You see, this is the point I'm trying to make. There are sins which are still in the form of a seed, and there are others which are already fructified and are giving us fruit, which we are enjoying as distress and pain. As explained in the 28th verse of the 7th chapter, a person, that means yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataham. A person who has completely ended the reactions of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities being freed from the duality of this material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, those who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. This statement is confirmed in the Padma Puran. Aprarabdha phalam papam kotam bijam phalonmukham kramenaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhaktiratatmanam. For those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all sinful reactions, whether fructified in the stalk or in the form of a seed, gradually vanish. Therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong, and it is called pavitram uttamam, the purest. Uttama means transcendental. Tamas means this material world or darkness, and Uttama means that which is transcendental to material activities. Devotional activities are never to be considered material, although sometimes it appears that devotees are engaged just like ordinary men. One who can see and is familiar with devotional service will know that they are not material activities. They are all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. So only one who is familiar with the science of devotional service can understand these things. See, others who cannot, they because devotees' activities may look like an ordinary man's activities, but they are completely not. It is said that the execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the results directly. This direct result is actually perceived, and we have practical experience that any person who is chanting the holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, in course of chanting without offenses, feels some transcendental pleasure and very quickly becomes purified of all contamination. This is actually seen. Furthermore, if one engages not only in hearing but in trying to broadcast the message of devotional service, devotional activities as well, or if he engages himself in helping the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, he gradually feels spiritual progress. This advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any kind of previous education or qualification. The method itself is so pure that by simply engaging in it, one becomes pure. So, this is very, very, very important. And I just read something recently. I'm just unable to remember where I read it. Just give me a moment. I showed it to Prabhu as well. Oh, yes. Yes, I found it. Okay, this is in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. I'll show you something important. I mean, interesting. Now, this. 2, 1. You see here. Iti bodhayitum. I'm reading from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita 2.1.107. Iti bodhayitum chasya sarva samshayanodhanam swavrittam eva nikhilam nunam prak pratipadaye. To bring him to this realization, first I must tell him my own history in full. That will clear away all his doubts. Okay. स्वयमेव स्वमाहात्म्यं कथ्यते यन्न तत्सतां सम्मतं स्यात् तथाप्यस्य नान्याख्यानाद्धितं भवेत्. Describing one's own glories is disapproved by spiritual authorities, but nothing else I could tell will bring about his good fortune. As the saying goes, swaprashamsa dhruvo mrityu, self-praise is as good as death. All the same, Gopakumar understands that nothing but his own story will dispel the Brahmana's doubts and give him Tattvavit. Because Gopakumar used his mystic power to describe the Brahmana's past, the Brahmana is already inclined to believe him. So Gopakumar should not hesitate to tell his own story and thereby make the Brahmana fortunate, since his own story is very similar to that of the Brahmana and will drive away all his doubts. Sri Radha's order will then be quickly carried out, and what would ordinarily have been a breach of etiquette will be perfectly acceptable behavior. So, okay, I do not know the full context of what is happening here. I don't pretend to know. But okay. You see here. Yeah, this is the one I wanted to show. 110. Shri Gopakumar Uvacha Atretihasa Bahavo Vidyante Thapi Kathyate Swavrittam Evanusmritya Mohadavapi Sangatam. Let me make the text a little bit bigger here. Okay. Shri Gopakumar said, there are many historical accounts relevant to this topic, but I am going to tell you my own story, including recollections of what occurred at times when I was bewildered by ecstasy and other distractions. Now here, this is where the definition of itihas is written, and I quoted this in a couple of my previous classes. There are many ancient historical accounts about what certain people did and said to one another that may be useful in explaining how to determine the best goal of life and the means to achieve it. Now, this commentary is by Sanatana Goswami himself. So that's why I'm reading it. These accounts are called itihasas. Dharmartha kama mokshanam upadesha samanvitam purvavritta katha yuktam itihasam pratyakṣāvagamaṁ. A text that consists of narrations of past events and includes instructions about religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation is called an itihasa. Gopakumar's plan, however, is to tell his own history instead. This is important. Of all forms of evidence for establishing the truth, experience from one's own life is the strongest. Thus, when Gopakumar frankly reveals the events of his life, the Brahmana should be persuaded of the higher truth that Gopakumar has grasped. Now, this is a kind of a contradicting statement from what we know, right? Because pratyaksha, anumana, aitihya, and shabda brahma. So there are four ways to understand knowledge: direct perception, then there is inference, anumana, then there is aitihya, historical, and then finally shabda brahma, which is um, the Vedic literature, which is perfect sound from the perfect source. Now, of all, pratyaksha is the worst, depending on our personal sense perception. It is the worst, right? Because our senses are defective. That's the whole point. That's why we believe the Vedic statements. Now, here it is said, of all forms of evidence for establishing the truth, experience from one's own life is the strongest. How is this so? Now, this is interesting. So, the thing is, and it ties to today's class because, okay, now remember this point here, and let me take you to the 9.2, the translation itself. Now here, okay, in the Vedanta Sutra, that's where we have to start. Okay, let me go up here. You see, pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ su-sukhaṁ kartum avyayam. Now, Prabhupada translates it. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. This pratyakṣāvagamaṁ, by direct experience, understood. Understood by direct experience. Because it gives this direct perception, therefore it is the perfection of religion. So, in other words, to understand all the statement in that Brihad Bhagavatamrita there, it is like this. It is not when we are materially contaminated, our evidence is the most, our experience is the most strongest evidence. But if I say, for example, especially, this is not, okay, this can be misused. We have to therefore understand very carefully this thing. Like Prabhupada, for example, he is already seeing Krishna, and but still he quotes Vedic literature. Krishna said like this. Now, if Prabhupada says, I saw Krishna, he will protect. He protected me in this one, that one, this and that. If he says like that, the danger is that Prabhupada can say actually. Prabhupada can always say because he will be right. But the reason why he did not say like that all the time, he only revealed a few things to his confidential disciples, not everything. And he did not go about giving lectures on what his experience, personal experience of Krishna consciousness was. Because why he did not do that? Whereas here Gopakumar is saying that, I will tell my experience, which is, the best way to convince him, whoever he was talking to. Prabhupada did not do that because then everybody will come up with their wild stories, right? And so for a person who is inexperienced in transcendental knowledge, he will not be able to discern which is the authentic experience or which is approved by Shastra, and that experience which is not approved by Shastra. Because if it's not approved by Shastra, then either it's a lie or a hallucination, or there is something untruth about it. But if it is with Shastra, then yes, it is the proper way. It is the proper. So who? Krishna, how to judge? So here Gopakumar, okay, this there is an how to say? Krishna alludes to this in the 4th chapter a little bit. So Krishna says in the 4th chapter, 10th verse, that Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Mamupashrita Bahavo Jnana Tapasa Puta Madbhavam Agataha. So they have come to me. Many people in the past have taken to devotional service, conquered over all the lust, anger, and greed and all these things, and they have attained me. That means those sages followed this path, the knowledge that I am giving you, Krishna saying, and they have experienced it, and they have actually reached the destination. So there is a personal experience of that, those devotees, right? And he says to Arjuna, you, in the 4th chapter, 15th verse, what is that? What is 4th chapter, 15th verse? Evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhehi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvaihi purvataram kritam. So follow the method of the previous acharyas who have achieved this perfection. So therefore we have to follow in the footsteps of the predecessor acharyas. Now what did they do? What was their experience? Now in the purport of today's verse 9.2, later down, Prabhupada explains about Narada Muni's experience, what he experienced. So if you see Bhagavatam, it is full of experiences of devotees in their relationship with the Lord. Those are authorized descriptions. We cannot invent. Of course, a pure devotee has constant experience of Krishna. But sometimes neophytes may make up their own stories about experience of Krishna and all these things. But then what about this pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ? By direct experience we can understand it. So, and this is true even from the beginning. Even in the beginning itself. Not that one has to wait for some kind of achievement in order to feel this. So of course in the beginning one may not be talking to Krishna directly, in that stage where you can have a conversation with Krishna. That is the highest stage. But even then, we can see indications of Krishna's help, Krishna's hand in our life by how Krishna is helping our devotional service. How Krishna is assisting us. And how Krishna, not only in our devotional service, but even everything, our whole maintenance, Krishna is taking care. He's always taking care. Sometimes some Hindus, sometimes even third class, beginner devotees, novices, materialistic devotees, they sometimes, I chanted Hari, I came to temple that day, and I got my job the next day itself. The interview went perfectly well and I got my job. So some faith they will get. Now, if they went to Sai Baba temple and then got that job, they would have gotten faith in Sai Baba. Now the point there is, their understanding is, oh, because they came to the temple, Krishna did something for them. But actually, the fact is, even if the person is an absolute atheist, Krishna is still taking care of him. How do you think he is surviving? Who gave him his body? Krishna is always doing everything for us. He is Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is not only Suhridam to the devotees, Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. But the devotees realize his friendship. And the more they become devotee, the more we realize Krishna's friendship with us. But actually, he's always our friend. It's not that because I went to this thing, therefore Krishna, he made some arrangement. He's always, every moment he's making arrangement. You think you're eating, the digestive system is working. Who's making that arrangement? Krishna is, if that is not digested, you have to go to the hospital, your stool will not come out, and this problem, that problem, the whole body will be gone. Just imagine. If our urinary system doesn't work, if our digestive system doesn't work, our respiratory system doesn't work, our nervous system doesn't work, our muscular system doesn't work, our skeletal system doesn't work, everything will fall apart, right? So who is arranging those things? Not that Krishna did something, made with some job come, that is the sign of Krishna taking care of me. No, 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 no. Every single moment, the reason why we can even use this body to even speak or do anything is only because Krishna gave us this thing. He is the one arranging our heartbeat. We are arranging our own heartbeat. Who is beating our heart? If the heartbeat stops, that means this body is not usable anymore. And they call it involuntary muscle. What it is, spasm, is it? You know what's a spasm? Sometimes you get twitching on some muscle twitches. Is it a kind of twitch? The heart is twitching. Huh? No. It's a regular function. It's not some accidental spasm. Involuntarily, the twitching is involuntary, but that's not the heart. The heart beating and this twitch is not the same. This heartbeat is going on a regular pace, and if you are working hard, like if you are, running or doing some heavy work, the heart will beat faster so that it will supply, whatever oxygen is needed and everything. Who is actually managing? And you are not. Oh, yeah, okay, switch up the heartbeat. Okay, do this, do that. You are not doing anything. It's automatically happening. How is that all happening? Your intelligence, your mind, your thinking, your rationalizing. Who gave you that intelligence? You did not decide when you were born, okay, this is my programming. I have coded my intelligence, my brains, and my beauty, and my parents, my family, my location. I've set everything. Okay, now enter. I'll take birth. No. Who coded that? Krishna. Not even the father and mother. Father and mother, what they know? They had a good time, and then the mother became pregnant, and then that's how the child came. And they don't know anything else. Right? That's what happened. So who is managing all these things? So Krishna is always our friend. And the more and more we become a devotee, the more and more we realize these things, that experience. It's not that we have some novel experience. I'll have some magnificent dream or something like that. No, no. I start to feel Krishna's hand in everything in my life. As much as I'm Krishna conscious, that much I will feel. This is pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ. And people in the material world, why that Gopakumar said like that, I will tell him my experience and, convince him. Although there are many historical accounts. Because apparently from that previous translation we read, purport, it is said there that, by some mystic power, he already told about the Brahmana's past or something. And so the Brahmana already has faith in him. And therefore he's explaining his own experience. And frankly, if I say that Singapore laws are like this or something, but if I say, no, I experienced this, I went through this, then people will believe that. I'm telling you, I went through this. If I tell like that, whatever incident it may be. So, oh, really? Okay. So it is difficult to deny that. But if I quote a book, maybe somebody else, somebody this and somebody that. But if I say, okay, I actually went through this, so then okay, then people may believe that. Because people have this inclination towards pratyaksha. Whatever is directly visible, directly experienceable. Is that a word? Experienceable? Well, let's make it up. So whatever is directly, what is that, experienceable, people gravitate towards that because their understanding is like that. They don't accept Shabda Brahma immediately. In fact, they think that, quoting from some book is some bookish knowledge. That's not your practical experience. That's some reality which somebody else is telling you, but you're not feeling it. You're just therefore quoting it. Whereas you are empty in your own experiences and realizations. That's not a fact. We're only quoting because we want to tell them that this is the truth. Now, I may experience anything. Like, people have wild experiences. Some people will say, oh, I experienced this. I was meditating and suddenly I saw this light and I felt I was very light. I was floating in the air. People can come up with all kind of things, right? I've seen many people talk nonsense. So, which experience is authorized? So that is important. So whatever Krishna says and the pure devotee experiences, if it is tallying, that's something. Otherwise, he's on drugs or something. He experienced something else. He's hallucinating something. We don't want to, explore those possibilities. But this is what Krishna has given. So, therefore, because that Brahmana is on that level, or I'm assuming, but people generally are on that level, that they easily accept pratyaksha praman rather than Shabda Brahma praman. And therefore, it might be effective. And already, since he has faith in this Gopakumar, because he did something mystical and did something wonderful, so such display of power, may, give people some faith. And that's what sometimes, tantric people, they do this kind of things. I mean, you see that Satya Sai Baba, he's also Asatya Sai Baba. People have Sadguru, Satya Sai Baba, but actually they're Asat and Asatya. Anyway, they have these names. Now, he brings out some lingam, something from his mouth, and you have to take it, and it's supposed to be a blessing. He actually spit it out, and so dirty, first of all. So we people believe because of something. Oh, he did something, special, wonderful. Although, just David Blaine is a better magician than him, but at least David Blaine is honest enough not to say that he's God. But these people, they make a business out of it. So he monetizes his stupidity, and he monetizes the stupidity of people. So that's the way these bogus gurus work. But therefore, we cannot simply go around telling our experiences all the time to confidential people. Like Prabhupada told some things, like he said to his disciples that, when he was on the ship to America, Krishna actually came and massaged his heart after the heart attack, and he saw the 10 incarnations. They were guarding the ship, all of them. So these things he will not go and tell. He did not go to America, land in Boston, and shout, "Hey, I saw God! God actually saved this ship." He did not do that, right? so So there is a way how to do these things. Narad Muni revealed his own experience to Vyasadeva, not some upstart on the street. And as one's credibility increases, people tend to believe him more, his experiences more. Because if a person is known to be honest, for example, if Yudhishthir Maharaj says something that I experienced this, nobody would doubt him. So much so that Dronacharya was killed in that way. Oh, Ashwathama is dead. Oh, he immediately Dronacharya put down his weapons, and then he was beheaded. Of course, he said, the elephant not your son, but of course the conch shells all blew at the time. But you see, because his reputation is like that, his credibility is like that, if he is known to be honest, if he is known to be religious, then people will believe him. People tend to believe anybody nowadays, but because they don't know whom to believe. But if a person is as spotless as Prabhupada, you can believe whatever he's saying. You see? Of course, he speaks the truth. So that's the reason why it is said that, in that commentary here, of all forms of evidence for establishing the truth, experience from one's own life is the strongest. So so it should not be misunderstood. and it's not in contradiction with anything else that we showed. So moving on. That Vedanta Sutra paragraph. In the Vedanta Sutra 3.2.26, there is also described. This is also described in the following words: Prakashascha karmanyabhyasat. Now, because I did not complete the next part of it. Now, pratyaksha, right? So, pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ su-sukhaṁ kartum. It is the perfection of religion because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. That means Shastra is saying something. My experience, if it is not tallying or if it takes a lot of effort for it to tally. For example, samadhi, right? In Ashtanga Yoga, you have to follow yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and then samadhi, 8th stage. So, a lot of effort is needed, a lot of many thousands of years, and then you can actually feel that result. Until then, sometimes they're unsure. In fact, I'll show you one verse. That is the process of yoga. Yoga is also like that. Okay, there is some, you will get some experience, like you will get some ashtasiddhi, something. But that is also after a very long amount of practice. Not immediately you will see any result. And the thing about that is, it can be demoralizing, especially for impatient people like in Kali Yuga. In Satya Yuga, they had that patience and they used to do it for that long and it was possible. But in Kali Yuga especially, people are impatient, they want to see some result. They are used to fast food techniques. So you order the food and then in minutes it is there in your house. Oh, yes, it works. So the faster the result, the faster, the stronger the faith. That's how it is going, especially today. And Bhagavad-gītā, this whole transcendental knowledge, one second. This whole transcendental knowledge is so, especially Krishna consciousness, is so perfect because even a beginner can have full faith in this process just by adhering to it. Very quickly he will feel, oh, this Hare Krishna chanting is very nice. I feel very nice when I chant. So that's an experience that even a neophyte can have. Right? Is the camera like tilted? Once again. Maybe ever so slightly. Okay. So you see that? So pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ. It gives, so in that way, su-sukhaṁ kartum avyayam. So there is happiness in such a process. Because, when you see some progress, although you're not supposed to, wait for the result or something like that, or expect any result, but just the happiness that one gets, Krishna rewards us with happiness even in the beginning stages. Kleshagni subhada mokshalabhuta krit sandrananda visheshatma Shri Krishna karshini shasa sudurlabha is also one. So that is the kleshagni. All the troubles immediately depart when you take to Krishna consciousness in earnestness, even a little bit. You will start to feel it. What you feel? You will get bhaktihi pareshanubhavo viraktiranyatra chaishatrikaika kalaha prapadyamanasya yatasnatah sus tushtihi pushtihi kshudapayonudhasam. So this is a very important verse. This is the pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ. Prapadyamanasya yathasnatah sus. So this is a very important verse. Anubhava, direct perception. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. Very nice example. When you eat, you will get this experience, pratyaksha, that your hunger is going down. You're very hungry, and then you have some food on your plate and then start eating. The hunger, goes down and is gone. And after that, you will feel nourishment, you will feel strength. So that is pratyaksha. It is not that I'm eating and I don't know whether it's working or not, whether my hunger is I'm still hungry, I don't know whether this food is gone inside or not, whether it touched the stomach or not. No need. As you're eating, it's already, you can feel it. That is exactly how this Krishna consciousness is. And it tushti pushti kshudapayo anughasam. Anughasam. See, increasingly with each morsel. So it's not that only when you completely fill your stomach, then you will get an indication, yes, now my stomach is full. Until then, you don't even know what is going on. No. There is a meter. Like a fuel, when you are topping up the fuel in a car, the fuel goes up like that and then finally it goes to full. So even if it is half filled, you can see that it is half filled. It's not that you don't know whether it is full or half full or 3/4 or 90% or 99%. You don't know. No, you know exactly. Not that only when it's 100% then you come to know. No. So similarly, anughasam, with each morsel. So as we are advancing in Krishna consciousness, our devotion to Supreme Lord increases. Our faith in Krishna increases. Our attraction for Krishna increases. And we will have direct experience of Krishna helping us. Krishna's protection we'll directly experience. And how Krishna assists our devotional growth. Krishna makes so many arrangements. And then the most visible symptom is that virakti. Virakti means complete, disgust for material life. That also increases, even for a neophyte. He doesn't like to be, with his friends talking nonsense. He doesn't like to engage himself in anything other than Krishna consciousness. He wants to be with devotees. So these are the signs, and he's not interested in those material improvement anymore. These things come even in the beginning stages. One can see these things. So this is anughasam, pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ. It gives direct perception of the self by realization. Another example is this 3:25:25. Shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. So, suppose you are going from point A to point B. You're traveling. When you reach point B, suppose it is your friend's house. Okay, let's say. When you reach point B, when you see your friend, you know you came the right path. But if you did not have a map, if you did not have a GPS, nothing, and you started from your home, now you do not know how far away are you from the friend's place, or are you even in the right direction, or nothing. You don't know anything until you reach your friend, right? Until you see your friend face to face. Then you know, yes, whatever you have done until now is right. Until then, you're not sure. You maybe somewhere close, maybe I'm on the right direction. Like that only. So that's an example. So, but if you have a GPS, if you have a map, then you have these landmarks. Nowadays, there's GPS. It shows you every step along the way. Previously, you will have a map, and you take this road, and then you will see this landmark. Yes, okay, I'm on the right track. Okay, this tower, that building, okay, that monument, or that some lake, that beach or something. So some landmarks. Then okay, you know what? Yes, he said that you will pass by this. Okay, now you're on the right track. So something to tell you that you are progressing, not that you're lost. You don't know like where you are. So like that, satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajjoshanada svapavargavartmani shraddharatir bhaktir anukrameshyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. Right? And thereafter, he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Now, of course, it is translated in this way. is the same thing, but if you just see the Sanskrit, you will see something here. Anukramishyati. Anukrama means chronological order. Will follow in order. In fact, the word chronology, I feel, has some relation to do with anukrama. Krama, chronology, something sounds related. Anukramishati will follow in order. So this chronological advancement, the symptoms of advancement, that means you will pass through these stages before attaining bhakti. That is Shraddha, Ratir, Bhaktir, Anukramishati. You will follow in the order. Firm faith, attraction, and then devotion. These are the things that will follow in order. So if your faith is increasing in Krishna consciousness, in Krishna, that means you're on the right track. But if your faith is like, I'm becoming more doubtful of this whole thing, then I know I'm missing somewhere. I'm not on the right track. Something I'm doing is completely wrong. What I'm doing is wrong because I'm not hearing satam prasangad mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kataha. So that is another symptom. Bhavanti, what will it become? So hritkarna rasayana katha. It is very pleasing to the ear and the heart. Of course, for a cricketer, any cricket news, India won, some World Cup or something, that will become a pleasing news. But this is not, it's not actually pleasing. It's kind of exploitative in nature because your happiness depends on somebody else's sadness because somebody else has to lose in order for you to win. It's basically an animalistic way of life because a tiger or a lion is satisfied when another animal is killed. So its own happiness comes at the cost of another's happiness. But whereas a Vaishnava's happiness is not like that. It doesn't come at the cost of another's happiness. In fact, paradukha dukhi. He is happy when others are happy. It's not that, parasukha dukhi and paradukha sukhi. That is an envious person. That is exploitation. So it is actually not really rasayana katha. Everything about Krishna consciousness is hritkarna rasayana katha. It's satisfying to the ear and heart. Even though sometimes it is separation from devotee, even then, one attraction for Krishna only increases and devotees only increases. Why do we celebrate the disappearance day of Acharyas? Why? Hey, he went away from this world, now we can do whatever we want. That's not the reason why we celebrate, right? We celebrate because at the departure of such a spiritual master, we are actually in knowledge of what he has done. For example, when a pure devotee takes birth, nobody knows about the glory of the pure devotee. But when he passes away, by then everybody knows what he is, or he has established, or Krishna established his fame sufficiently in this world. Sometimes no, sometimes pure devotees are humble and they, like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, not many people knew. In that area they knew. But especially when we become aware of such personalities, then we understand, okay, he has manifested. So he is going away from this world is what? He's going to the eternal pastimes of Krishna only. And while he was here, that is also eternal pastimes of Krishna. And the reason why he came here is also because of eternal pastimes of Krishna. So Krishna, the appearance of devotees is very, and the separation that is effected or is produced, or the feeling of separation that is produced when one knows that this person is no longer here, that is even greater, it is felt even more greatly when we remember the pastimes of such a person. And that is actually his presence. The remembrance of such a person, such a Vaishnava or Krishna, is non-different from his presence. So we take advantage of the disappearance day of Acharya or the appearance day to only feel his presence even more. So it is not actually a disappearance in that sense. So these are all ecstatic, transcendentally ecstatic, spiritually ecstatic. But so it is pleasing to the ear and heart, and apavargavartmani, he quickly proceeds on this path of liberation. And how do we know? Shraddha first comes, our Shraddha becomes strong, and then Rati comes, naturally attracted. When His Grace Nimanita Prabhu was here in Singapore, so he was mentioning this to me, that from the Madhurya Kadambini of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it is said there that the stages of devotion are there: Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti. Now the difference between Ruchi and Asakti: Ruchi means taste, Asakti means spontaneous attraction. Now he mentioned this to me, that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that the difference between Ruchi and Asakti is, Ruchi means one has taste. So even though he is even when he is engaged in Krishna consciousness, let me remember what he said. Yes. So one has a taste for Krishna, Ruchi, and when he is performing Krishna conscious activities, sometimes his mind may, remember material activity, but then it will quickly come back to Krishna consciousness. Whereas in Asakti, even if he's doing something seemingly not devotional, his mind is automatically attracted towards Krishna. How our mind naturally gets diverted from Krishna, in Asakti platform, the mind naturally gravitates towards Krishna. Now our mind is not like that. Our mind, we have to chant and we have to focus on our chanting, and then our mind will go. That is where it gravitates. And every time we have to, bring it back. Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalam asthiram tato tato niyamyaitad atmanyeva vasham nayet. 626 of Bhagavad-gītā. Whenever it goes, we have to bring it back again. But in Asakti platform, that completely stops and it reverses the order. The order is reversed. That means wherever, even if you're doing something like, something material, seemingly material, like seemingly not related to Krishna, just like something, maybe I'm just going to the, office to work. I'm not doing really devotional service. But the mind is always going to Krishna. Or I'm doing something, maybe just taking a shower, and the mind goes to Krishna. So everything, the mind goes to Krishna naturally, rather than the mind going away from Krishna, even for a moment. It doesn't happen. It always goes towards Krishna. So, that's quite a interesting difference between Ruchi and Asakti. The spontaneous attraction, that is how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur seems to have defined it. So this Rati is that spontaneous attraction, is Asakti. Ruchi is also sometimes translated as Rati. But anyway, that is the Shraddha is the first, Rati, and then Bhakti. Bhakti finally, Nimanita Prabhu is here. Wow, he has come to save me from the speculative explanation. Okay, the difference between Ruchi and Asakti is, Ruchi has bhajana, devotion and practice as a subject, and Asakti has the Lord, the object of bhajana, as a subject. Devotional practice as a subject, and Asakti, the object of bhajana, as a subject. So the stage can be decided from the amount of each component. Actually, Ruchi and Asakti have both components, but the intensity of one or the other is, like this thing. So the scale is tipped in the other way. Yeah. Okay. Ruchi and Asakti becomes distinguishable from each other. Asakti polishes the mirror of the heart. To such a condition, the reflection of the Lord suddenly seems to be almost visible there. Oh, my mind is being overwhelmed by material desires. Let me fix it on the Lord. I think he's still posting comments, because there is like a limit to how many characters you can have in a comment. So let him post the whole thing. Maybe I will take it out then. In the stage previous to Asakti, the devotee, on realizing his mind has been overpowered by material objects and desires, by his deliberate effort, tries to bring it to Krishna. Yeah. Almost withdraws his mind and almost fixes it on the Lord's form, qualities, and activities. At the appearance of asakti, however, absorption of the mind in the Lord is automatic without effort. So, yeah, you see that? So there is ruchi. So you constantly remind, okay, that is the highest thing, and then you always have to make effort. Now, in the absorption of the Lord asakti, there is without effort, automatic, mind is absorbed in the Lord. Thank you, Nimananda Prabhu, for saving me from a speculative explanation. Okay, here. A devotee at the stage of Nishtha cannot detect how and when his mind withdraws from the topics of the Lord's qualities, forms, etc., and fixes itself on material affairs. And that is already called fixed, and he's not even fixed. Okay, now it's finished. He doesn't even know when his mind is withdrawing from the material. I mean, wait. Wait, a person at the stage of asakti does not perceive. So, this is all very okay. Sorry, little more. Can never know this. The spontaneous fixation on the Lord, however, is a symptom of the stage of asakti. So this is so Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishati. So this is all pratyaksha. You can actually feel it. You can actually go through it. It's not that we are disconnected from the Lord's presence as we are engaging in devotional service. Okay, so all the way, let's go back. In the Vedanta Sutra 3 to 26, it is also described in the following words: Prakashascha karmanyabhyasat. Devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotional service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. Just by engaging in devotional service. A practical example of this can be seen in the previous life of Narada, who in that life happened to be the son of a maidservant. He had no education, nor was he born into a high family. But when his mother was engaged in serving great devotees, Narada also became engaged, and sometimes in the absence of his mother, he would serve the great devotees himself. Narada personally says, Uchishhtalepan anumodito dvijaihi sakritsma bhunje tadapastakilbishah evam pravrittasya vishuddha chetasas tadharma evatma ruchihi prajayate. In this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.25, Narada describes his previous life to his disciple Vyasadeva. He says that this is actually the definition of ruchi. I think this also Nimananda Prabhu shared with me, that Narad Muni's experience, there is Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema, all these things are mentioned in this 1.5 chapter of Bhagavatam. And this, I think this is the Ruchi Prajayate. And the next verse also, which is also quoted below, I think is mentioned. In this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.25, Narada describes his previous life to his disciple Vyasadeva. He says that while engaged as a boy servant for those purified devotees during the 4 months of their stay, he was intimately associating with them. Sometimes those sages left remnants of food on their dishes, and the boy who would wash their dishes wanted to taste the remnants. So he asked the great devotees for their permission, and when they gave it, Narada ate those remnants and consequently became freed from all sinful reactions. As he went on eating, he gradually became as pure-hearted as the sages. The great devotees relished the taste of unceasing devotional service to the Lord by hearing and chanting, and Narada gradually developed the same taste. Narada says further, I think this is the next verse if I'm not wrong. Tatranvaham Krishna katha pragayatam anugrahena shravanam anugrahena shrinavam manoharah ताः श्रद्धया मे नुपदं विशृण्वतः priyashravasyangamamabhavadruchihi. Okay, I think maybe this is the definition of ruchi. By associating with the sages, Narada got the taste for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and he developed a great desire for devotional service. Therefore, as described in the Vedanta Sutra, prakashascha karmanyabhyasat, if one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically and he can understand. This is called pratyaksha, directly perceived. Prakashascha karmanyabhyasat. Asakti. Oh, okay, see here. Okay. Nimananda Prabhu is sharing here. Ruchi. Yeah, this is definition of Ruchi, 1527. As soon as I got the taste of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. And Asakti is 325:15. Bhava is 125, 1526. Okay, so we will go through all of that. We will go through all those verses. But just here, prakashascha karmanyabhyasat. If one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically and he can understand. Now, okay, prema is 1617. This is the this is the advantage of associating with devotees. So we may not have read all these things and to connect all these things, but you see, it's all there. And then Nimartha Prabhu, who has read that book, and he's just sharing, you see. So to connect all these things. Okay, so prakashascha karmanya abhyasa. This is a very interesting statement. When one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically and he can understand. Can we draw parallels to this even in material activity? I would say yes. For example, I can watch how to edit a video, YouTube videos, and I can watch how to edit, and I can read books and everything. But when I do it myself, that learning, that hands-on learning, automatically we will know. In fact, in India, if you see the car mechanic, he, sometimes even children help their father in the mechanic shop. And they repair cars and motorbikes and everything, as if they know everything. They never went to the thing to learn about automobile engineering or nothing. They just saw and then did it, and they know how it works. Even they can even, they can, when they see, okay, they understand what is the problem, and then they will have a solution for it. When you do hands-on anything, you will automatically have a much better hold of the subject, even materially. Prakashascha karmanyabhyasat. And especially so in devotional service by the grace of the Lord. Everything happens by the grace of the Lord. Even in the material skill that we are developing, when we put hands on and we are doing, and then we understand it better. I can watch a video on how to cycle, but when I actually sit on a cycle, I can't balance myself. I can say, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that, okay, I have to pedal like this, but unless I do it and practice it, I can't get it. But how can I, when I say I get it, it's not I get it. Krishna helps us from within. He's helping everyone, not just only the devotees. If I want to become some criminal, he is the one who is giving us the intelligence how to become a criminal, because we wanted that. So he's giving us the body to fulfill our desires. He's giving us a subtle body and the gross body and everything. So even for material things, prakashascha karmanya abhyasat is applicable. You see, and especially so in devotional service. This is a much even different way, because Krishna actually personally here, there indirectly, he will, he's not really interested in us getting, you know, expertise in whatever skills we do, but he's especially interested in us becoming devotees. And Krishna personally gives us the realization when we engage in Krishna conscious service under the guidance of devotees. The proper process must be followed. Then, yes, Krishna will give all intelligence. Dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te satatam tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Same thing, right? Let's go there. Bhagavad-gītā 10:10. For who? To whom does he give the intelligence? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love. So those who are serving, again, karmanya abhyasat, prakashascha karmanya abhyasat. Abhyasat, at ends with at means from. Abhyasat, from the practice of work or acting on this platform, we get prakasha. Prakasha means to illuminate. So the knowledge will be illuminated by our activity. Karmanya abhyasa, the practice of devotional service. So, in this Priti Purvaka Satata Yuktanam, always engaged in rendering, Bhajatam, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So, you see, if we practice how to become a boxer, yes, Krishna will give us intelligence how to become a boxer. If I practice how to become a devotee, then he'll give us intelligence how to come to him. Those who worship the demigods, he will give the intelligence how to go to the demigod planets. But the devotees get the topmost result. Buddhi yogam, dadami buddhi yogam tam, yena mam upayantite, how to come back to him, which is the actual thing that we should be after, which is the actual goal of life. Other things, yeah, he gives intelligence for everything, not only for devotional service. Everything what we ever get is from the Lord. But such things will take us elsewhere. So it is not Krishna's direct interest. Here, Krishna's direct interest, Priti Purvakam. When devotee has this Priti towards the Lord also has Priti towards the devotee. That's why it's a Bhakta Vatsala. He personally takes care of the devotee and gives him intelligence. Now, those verses which were so Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. So Bhava 1520, sorry, Ruchi 1527. Srimad Bhagavatam 1527. Eh? Oh, that's 11527. 1520. I'll confuse myself with 11527, which is actually talking about Bhagavad-gītā. Arjuna talks about it, how he is remembering the instructions of Bhagavad-gītā. So here 1527. Tasmim stadalabdha rucher mahamate priyashravasya skhalitamatirmama yayaham etat sadasad svamayaya pashyemayi brahmani kalpitam pare. O great sage, as soon as I got a taste for the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. Ruchi, Vasudeva Katha Ruchi, Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat. Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. You know this 1 to 16. शुश्रूषोः श्रद्धधानस्य वासुदेवकथारुचिः स्यान्महत्सेवया विप्राः पुण्यतीर्थनिषेवणात्. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva, Katharuchi, Vasudeva Katharuchi. Taste for hearing about Krishna consciousness. And such taste शृण्वतां स्वकथाः कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृद्यन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम्. So it will purify us. So going back here. So this is Krishna's, this is a Ruchi. Then Asakti 325:15. Let's go there. 325:15. Ratam. This is Asakti. Saktam. Yeah, attracted. Saktam. चेतः खल्वस्य बन्धाय मुक्तये चात्मनो मतं गुणेषु सक्तं बन्धाय रतं वा पुंसि मुक्तये. Guneshu Saktam Bandhaya. The stage in which the consciousness of the living entity is attracted by the three modes of material nature is called conditional life. But when that same consciousness is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is situated in the consciousness of liberation. Interesting. Of course, then we have this verse. प्रसङ्गमजरं पाशम् आत्मनः कवयो विदुः स एव साधु शुकृतो मोक्षद्वारमपावृतम्. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. Just saying it in a different way. The modes of material nature and devotional service. When we attach ourselves to the material world, we're actually attaching ourselves to the modes. That attachment applies to the self-realized devotees who are above the modes. So by associating with such devotees, we're associating with the mode of Shuddha Sattva under their guidance. So then it opens the door of liberation. Vasudeva Sthiti. Okay. Next is Bhava 1526. 1526. Tatranvaham Krishna. This is different. Tatranvaham Krishna Katha Pragayatam Anugrahena Shranavam Manoharaha Ta Shraddhaya Menupadam Vishranvatah Priyashravasyangamamabhavadruchihi. We have read this in that purport, 9-2 purport, right? O Vyasadeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus, listening attentively, my taste for hearing the personality of Godhead increased at every step. So that is Bhava, Prema, 1617. Premātibhara nirbhinna pulakango tinirvritah ananda samplave lino napashyam ubhayam mune. O Vyasadeva, at that time, being exceedingly overpowered by feelings of happiness, every part of that my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. Prema, love. Atibhara, excessive. So, these are the stages. And Vrindavaneshwari Mataji is saying, okay, that's very thoughtful. It's remembering Krishna in our every situation, every action. Actually, Krishna says, like, if you see 7th chapter, Punyagandha Prithivyam cha Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, and there is Balam Balavatam Chaham Kamaraga Vivarjitam. So, and Purusham Paurusham Nirshu, and the ability in man. So anybody who gets any ability by hands-on practice, which is the best way to actually get anything, of course, like even scientific way of doing it, although it is imperfect, there is theory and then there is practicals. So according to that process, if you act, suppose for example, hydrogen and oxygen you mix and make water comes out, right? Now that is an equation, H2O plus, well, 2H2O plus O2 equal to 4H, no, the other way around. 4H or 2H2 plus O2 equal to 2H2O, something like that. 4H2O, something. Messing it up. So, so that is there as an equation. You can write it with ink. But actually, to get water, you have to combine hydrogen and oxygen. And when you do it, then you get water. So realization is like that. But the only difference is the first part in Western science, it is theory. whereas which may or may not be correct. Now, in the case of H2O, maybe it's correct. But if you go to subjects which are more difficult, say for example quantum physics, or the uncertainty principle, or the what is this called, Einstein's theory of relativity, these things, it becomes a probability, you know and for even higher things, they don't have any clue, even no theory to even act on. When you do an experiment, it is based on a certain prescribed method. You're testing or realizing that the method actually works when you do it that way. The 2H2 plus O2, yeah, 2H2O. So the method, whether it's working or not, it's not whether exactly to test the method. When you do lab experiments in the school, you're not testing whether H2 and O2, if you mix, you'll get water. You're not testing it. You're just practically demonstrating it. So that is even true for material science. So here also there is prescribed methods, and when we follow that prescribed method, then we will get the result. So it's pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ. So the knowledge is there. We don't call it theory, because theory is is something created in an imperfect person's head. But knowledge, we call it knowledge and realization. That's how we call it. So jnanam vijnanam. So knowledge is given by Krishna. When I realize it, there is vijnana. Now, just because I did not realize it yet, it does not mean that the knowledge is not true. It's only because I haven't taken to the recipe that is needed to make it a reality. Like if I follow a recipe when I'm cooking, the ingredients in the proper proportion, at the proper temperature, if they're mixed and at that proper timing, you will get the actual dish. And the way a person describes recipe, okay, these are the ingredients, okay, mix it at this time, and then when it becomes a little bit thick, okay, add this one, and then so you will actually see when you're following that recipe, and then we're actually putting all those ingredients in that proportion, at that flame, at that temperature, at that timing, it actually follows. Okay, this has now become thickened. Okay, now I should add this. Okay, then this, then this, then this, and finally you get the actual dish, and yeah, it's nice tasting. So there is markers to tell you, okay, this is the path you have to go to. So these are the markers you will pass as you are on this way, on the way to the final destination or the final result. And when we see those markers, okay, then we are convinced and our faith increases. And at the same time, we get satisfaction. Like when we eat, automatically our hunger is, subsided, and then we get nourishment and strength. Increase at every step. So this is ruchi. Okay, we have seen that. Okay, prema. Okay, all these things we've seen. So going back to the original verse. This is called pratyaksha, directly perceived, realized knowledge. The word dharmyaṁ means the path of religion. Narada was actually a son of a maidservant. He had no opportunity to go to school. He was simply assisting his mother, and fortunately his mother rendered some service to the devotees. The child Narada also got the opportunity, and simply by association achieved the highest goal of all religion. The highest goal of all religion is devotional service, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radhokshaje. Religious people generally do not know that the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of devotional service. This is very important. Many people, they fight about this religion, that religion, my religion is superior, this and that. It's all tested whether we are achieving the coming to the point of devotional service to the Lord or not, and whether we're actually loving God or not. That is the test. If I don't have the symptoms of loving God, then I'm not on the right path. Even if I profess to read the Vedas and Bhagavad-gītā and everything, but if there is no symptom of love of God here, that means I have approached it with wrong attitude, and I do not take it to the right to the right process. So even if it's not only whether other religion, even our own scriptures, Bhagavad-gītā, for example, let's take. If that is understood in a way that is contrary to devotional service, or according to not according to devotee, contrary to devotee understanding, we cannot understand. It's confidential. It's encrypted. You can open the book Bhagavad Gita. You will not be able to understand the real purpose if you are not a devotee. Bhakto same sakacheti rahasyam hetad uttamam. Krishna called this rahasyam, secret. And if you're a devotee, then it's decrypted for you. If one is a non-devotee, the person cannot understand. It is encrypted for him. End-to-end encryption from the Lord to his devotee. If you want it decrypted, then you have to become devotee. If you are not devotee, it will be encrypted. You cannot understand. And we will attain or understand it in a totally different way. Completely misled in our understanding. That's from the same words of Bhagavad Gita. How is that possible? So that's how mysterious this science is. As I've already discussed in regard to the last verse of the 8th chapter, Vedeshu Yajneshu Tapassu Chaiva, generally Vedic knowledge is required for self-realization. But here, although Narada never went to the school of the spiritual master and was not educated in the Vedic principles, he acquired the highest results of Vedic study. This process is so potent that even without performing the religious process regularly, one can be raised to the highest perfection. How is this possible? This is also confirmed in Vedic literature. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who is in association with the great acharyas, even if he is not educated or has never studied the Vedas, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. So this is a statement that should be understood properly. This process is so potent that even without performing the religious process regularly, one can be raised to the highest perfection. Does this mean that even if I don't, follow the Mangalarati and all this morning program, eating prasadam, even if I don't follow this process regularly, I can be raised to the highest perfection? No, that's not the meaning here. Religious process means dharma. We're not talking about artha, kama, moksha and prema. Devotional service, that is also of course dharma, sanatana dharma. But this dharma is a materialistic dharma, the fruitive rituals. That is what is mentioned here. This process is so important that even without performing the religious process regularly, that means by studying the Vedas, by executing austerities and yajnas and dāna, charity, even without performing all those things before, if one takes to devotional service, one can be raised to the highest perfection. That is the meaning here. Not that, oh, I should not follow I no need to follow my devotional service regularly. I can do once in a while. No. That's why, sometimes people can misunderstand these things, in their own way. This is also confirmed in Vedic literature, Acharyavan Purusho Veda. Even if one is not educated, one who or has never studied the Vedas can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. And I think you know the story that I told, I think, a few weeks or months ago. Madan Mohan Malviya. Actually, I came to know who he is just recently. He is the person who started the Banaras Hindu University, BHU, which is a very famous university, and they're more rooted in kind of Sanatan Dharma kind of, but of course their understanding is not very perfect. That Madan Mohan Malviya, who started this in 1920 or something, he actually met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and such an eminent personality at that time in the social circles. And he wanted to ask Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for some philosophical answer. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, okay, you serve, you do some service. You go to the devotees there and do some service. So he said, no, actually, no. He said, you ask the devotees. That's what he said. You ask the devotees. Then Madan Mohan Malviya, because he was quite an intelligent person, quite a thinker. I mean, he's a intelligent person. He said, no, maybe they won't be able to answer the question that I have. It is a little more sophisticated. Maybe you can answer only you can answer this. So he said, no, no, they can answer. So okay. Then he went, and then the devotees were actually cleaning some deity paraphernalia and all that. And then when he asked, he said, I have a question. Can any of you help me answer? He said, okay, we can see that later. Come, we first engage in service. So he was also, cleaning helping in the cleaning of the paraphernalia and all that. Then after the whole thing finished, he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and was going to go. Then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked him, did your questions get answered? He said, yes. Did the devotees answer? He said, no, actually, he asked, how did you get the answer? No, as I was doing the service, the answer came to my mind. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur proved to him that just by devotional service, all understanding can be gotten. So when we engage in devotional service, we'll have the understanding also. Krishna will give us the intelligence. Actually, I want to take out this. You see, yeah, su-sukhaṁ, kartum, avyayam. This is important. Prabhu shared something. I think those of you devotees who receive regular messages from Prabhu, today he shared one one purport extract that is very relevant to today's class. So let's go to su-sukhaṁ. The process of devotional service is a very happy one. Su-sukhaṁ. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu 7.5.23. Oh yes, before we go here, just one thing. This 7.5.23, here, you see, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoh Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishno Bhaktis Chennava Kriyeta Bhagavatyadha Tanmanye Dhitam uttamam. This is related to the 9.2. Prahlad Maharaj says these 9 processes of devotional service, one who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge, perfection of education, king of knowledge, rāja-vidyā. He is the most learned person. One who has dedicated his life to Krishna's service. He is the most learned person. Vedaisya sarvairahameva vedya. By all Vedic study, Krishna is to be understood, and Krishna can be understood by bhakti. So just by bhakti one can understand Krishna, which is the purpose of all the Vedas anyway. So that's why the whole purpose of Vedas is there in that person. That is the meaning of 246. Yavan artha udapanem sarvatah sampluto dakem tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. There's another one. Highest education. There is another verse. Prabhu was sharing that. I don't know how I can find like this, but is it this one? So here 11:19:28. Okay. You see Kim. So many Kim. What is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? Kim kaha Kim kaha Kim. Going on. Kaha means what is. Kim means what is. So many Kim kaha Kim. So let's see what is this saying. Uddhava is asking this. My dear Lord, please tell me how many types of disciplinary regulations and regular duties there are. Tell me what is mental equilibrium, what is self-control, what is the actual meaning of tolerance and steadfastness, what are charity, austerity, heroism, how are reality and truth to be described, what is renunciation, what is wealth, what is desirable, what is sacrifice, what is religious illumination, um, how am I to understand the strength, opulence, and profit of a particular person, what is the best education. You say this is the kim vidya, this is the thing. What is actual humility, what is real beauty, what are happiness and unhappiness, who is learned, who is a fool, what are true and false paths in life, and what are heaven and hell, who is indeed a true friend, and what is one's real home, who is a rich man, who is a poor man, who is wretched, who is an actual controller. Kindly explain all these things. So now 11 1940. Just a second here. So he's explaining after that. Krishna is explaining the answers. Now here, vidya, uttamaha, mad bhaktihi, uttamam vidya. Of course, this is actually from before that. Bhaga me aishvara bhava labha mad bhakti uttamam uttama vidya atmani. Actually, here he's saying uttama vidya atmani, in the soul. So the whole science of the soul, which includes the science of super soul, the spiritual, the bhakti, everything, that is uttamam vidya. The supreme gain in life is devotional service to me, and actual education is nullifying the false perception of duality within the soul. So education should lead to gain, right? We study in the school in order to gain a job and gain money, and then so education should lead us to gain. And the supreme gain in life is devotional service, and actual education is how to get there. So this is all mentioned. Just a second here. This is Ramananda Samvada. Madhilila 8.245. प्रभु को है कौन विद्या विद्या मध्य सार, राय को है कृष्ण भक्ति बिना विद्या नहीं हार. On one occasion, the Lord inquired of all types of education, which is the most important. Ramananda replied, no education is important other than the transcendental devotional service of Krishna. In fact, he did not even say that this is the most important. He said nothing else is important even. Not that important, more important, most important. It is the only important thing. Every other thing is not important. See how he is. Here, in these exchanges, there is an attempt to show the difference between material and spiritual existence. Education in Krishna consciousness is always transcendental and is the best of all forms of education. Material education aims at increasing the activities of material sense gratification. Beyond sense gratification is another negative form of knowledge called Brahma Vidya, or impersonal transcendental knowledge. But beyond that, Brahma Vidya, or knowledge of the impersonal Brahman, is knowledge of devotional service to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This knowledge is higher, and higher still is devotional service to Lord Krishna, which is the topmost form of education. Oh yes, this is the verse 429-49. आस्तीर्य दर्भैः प्रागग्रैः कार्त्स्येन क्षितिमण्डलं स्तब्धो बृहद्वधान्मानि कर्म नावैषि यत्परं तत्कर्म हरितोषं यत् सा विद्या तन्मतिर्यया. The entire world is covered with the sharp points of kushagrass, and on the strength of this you have become proud because you have killed various types of animals in sacrifices. Because of your foolishness, you do not know that devotional service is the only way one can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You cannot understand this fact. Your only activities should be those that can please the Personality of Godhead. Our education should be such that we can become elevated to Krishna consciousness. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 7, 5, 23, 24, which we have just seen, adhitam uttamam. One who's engaged in such activities is understood to be educated to the topmost perfection. So all these statements confirm this one point, rāja-vidyā, rāja-guhyaṁ, pavitram idam uttamam. Where else can we find that the knowledge is the topmost and there is nothing higher than this? This is in 438 Bhagavad-gītā. नहि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रं मिह विद्यते तत्स्वयं योगसंसिद्धः कालेनात्मनि विन्दति. Very nicely said. The same thing actually. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So the knowledge of devotional service is the topmost, and one who engages in Krishna consciousness, he will enjoy this knowledge within himself in due course of time, because he can see the result, he can perceive, and he can enjoy the fruit of such education as he, engages. That's why this knowledge, which we receive from the spiritual master in 434, this is 438, and Shraddhava labhate jnanam. Those who are faithful in this get the transcendental knowledge. Those who subdue their senses and very attached to the knowledge. And then what happens? Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhanti dhanam. Then he actually engages in yoga sanyasta karmanam, which is dispassionate action, which is devotional service. Yoga in connection with the God, with the Lord. So that's how we should understand. Kim means who in Turkish language. That's interesting. Kim means what in Sanskrit? 498 purport. The more a devotee engages himself in devotional service of the Lord, the more encouragement is supplied by the energy of the Lord. That's true. 11:28. 11.20.8. This other thing. 11:28. 11.20.8. यदृच्छया मत्कथादौ जातश्रद्धस्तु यः पुमान् न निर्विण्णो नातिसक्तो भक्तियोगोऽस्य सिद्धिदः. If somehow or other by good fortune one develops faith in hearing and chanting my glories, such a person, being neither very disgusted with nor attached to material life, should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotion to me. Yes. So, going back now, all the way here. That is rāja-vidyā, rāja-guhyaṁ. So now, the process of devotional service is a very happy one, su-sukhaṁ. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoha, 7.5.23. 1 second here. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Then one can eat the remnants of food offered to God, nice palatable dishes. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. The Lord says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam. He is ready to accept from the devotee any kind of offering, never mind what. Even a leaf, a flower, a bit of fruit, or a little water, which are all available in every part of the world, can be offered by any person regardless of social position and will be accepted if offered with love. There are many instances in history. Simply by tasting the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages like Sanat Kumara became great devotees. Therefore, the devotional process is very nice and it can be executed in a happy mood. You can see the yogis who become, like Durvasa Muni, very great accomplished yogis. They're not in a happy mood. They're always angry, easily angered. They're not in a happy mood, actually. They become hard-hearted with the yogic perfection. You can say they're grumpy. Those who take to other processes can be actually very grumpy. But devotees who actually follow the real process, if devotees are grumpy, then that means he's not in devotional service, he's in Maya. A real person in devotional service cannot be grumpy. God accepts only the love with which things are offered. So, Anya Mataji is saying, but even if we hear according to our purification only, we can understand. That's true. It doesn't matter. It's not that we should understand everything on day one. No. So, according to our purification, we understand that much. And that understanding will cause more purification. And that purification will enable our deeper understanding and deeper understanding. In this way, they complement each other. Our purification will enable our understanding. Our understanding will enable our purification. And our purification will, in this way, we climb. It is said here that this devotional service is eternally existing. It is not as the Mayavadist philosophers claim. Although they sometimes take to so-called devotional service, their idea is that as long as they're not liberated, they will continue the devotional service. But at the end, when they become liberated, they will become one with God. Such temporary time-serving devotional service is not accepted as pure devotional service. Actual devotional service continues even after liberation. When the devotee goes to the spiritual planet in the kingdom of God, he is also engaged there in serving the Supreme Lord. He does not try to become one with the Supreme Lord. And okay, before we go then, okay, Prasanna Manaso. Actually, there are many verses. Okay, so okay, let's read it. As will be seen in Bhagavad-gītā, actual devotional service begins after liberation. So this is actually devotion. After one is liberated, when one is situated in the Brahman position, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, su-sukhaṁ, happy, prasanna. Once devotional service begins, samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. No one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, or any other process in any other yoga independently. But these yogic methods, by these yogic methods, one may make a little progress. One may make a little progress toward bhakti yoga, but without coming to the stage of devotional service, one cannot understand what is the personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed that when one becomes purified by executing the process of devotional service, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gītā from realized souls, then he can understand the signs of Krishna or the signs of God. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus, the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. So, yayatma suprasidati. Unmotivated devotional service will make us happy. Prasidati. Suprasidati, in fact. Um, but if it is not unmotivated, then it may lead to, again, confounding thoughts, confusions. We may doubt because we are not focused on the real thing. We're focused on material, maybe some benefit I may get if I do some devotional service. So that it may be there may be some obstacles there. But in pure devotional service, apratyahata, there will be no obstacles. One's progress will not be checked if it is ahaituki bhakti, causeless devotional service. That means unmotivated devotional service. It is not that because of a cause I am doing some devotional service. No. So that is pure devotional service, and this happiness. Okay, now I want to show something. Evam prasanna manaso. Of course, this was already quoted by Srila Prabhupada here. This is 1 to 20. 11.3.21 purport. So Nopal Prabhu shared this. Oh yeah, before that, yeah, I need to show you this. Kleshagni. Madhya 17.95 purport. It is mentioned here. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.117 describes the symptoms of Bhakti Yoga thus. Kleshaghne Shubhada Mokshalaghuta Krit Sudurlabha Sandrananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Karshani Chasa. This is a very important verse. Devotees should memorize this. Devotional service is Kleshaghne even for beginners. Klesha means difficulty. Ghni means destroyer. Ghna means the killing or the killer sometimes. Like Ram's brother, Ramchandra Bhagwan's brother is Shatrughna. Shatrughna means, Shatru means enemy, Ghna means killer, the killer of the enemies or the death of the enemies. So his name is like that, Shatrughna. So Klesha Ghni means the destroyer of Klesha. Kleshodhikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam. So this Klesha, trouble, it is the killer of all troubles, devotional service. Even for beginners, Prabhupada is saying here. This means that it reduces or nullifies all kinds of suffering. It is true. Why it reduces all kinds of suffering? Of course, Krishna reduces the reaction, but also because when one is educated with knowledge, then one becomes detached. The trouble in this material world is only because of our attachment. The more we're attached to material life, material relatives, family, and all these things, the more we are attached to that, the more we will suffer when it is gone. Because one day it will go. So, therefore, it is actually full of klesha. But if we get knowledge that we are actually not supposed, we have nothing to do really with our material home or family or anything, then we are naturally, at least in our mind, progressively detached. We become detached progressively from this materialistic way of life. And detachment is very important in order for us to stay happy. Detachment from material life. Because as I said many times, and Prabhupada also give examples, that if there is an accident on the road, you see that accident. I think in my recent vlog, you can see one truck, fell on the side. I shared that in the vlog, one scene, as we were driving to the Rath Yatra. The one truck was like overturned, like. So you won't feel, okay, you feel, oh wow, that's bad. Okay, that much. But if it happens to us, or even if it did not happen to us, if it happened to our vehicle, maybe somebody else is driving my vehicle and got into an accident. Now, the pain that I have for that vehicle, of course, my friend also maybe, but I'm talking about the vehicle for now, for this example's sake. I'm not attached to the truck which fell on the road, so I don't feel the pain. But if it was my truck, now I have a lot more to worry about. So, the more we're attached to something, the more possessions we have in this material world, the more trouble we have. So, the more we can detach ourselves from that, the lesser trouble we have. And what this knowledge of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, teaches us is that we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. So, everything connected with the body is not really ours, everything is Krishna's, and I have to engage in Krishna's service. That's it. So, automatically there is detachment. And that itself reduces the pain so much. And moreover, Krishna also helps further that he reduces the reactions and gives us only a token punishment for our past whatever sinful action, and that too acts as a remedial measure to spur the devotee on in the path of devotion. See? So Shubhada indicates that devotional service bestows all good fortune, and the word Krishna Karshani indicates that devotional service gradually attracts Krishna toward the devotee. Attracts Krishna toward the devotee. Not the devotee towards Krishna, actually both ways. But how to attract Krishna? Krishna Karshini. is devotional service. So therefore, devotional service is even more powerful than Krishna. So much so that a devotee doesn't mind staying away from Vaikuntha, but he absolutely does mind staying away from devotional service. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mama Janmani Janmanishwari. He did not even ask for, moksha and association with the Lord. No. Even the Salokya Sarupya, which is personal association, not talking about impersonal liberation, but even personal liberation in the Vaikuntha. A devotee is not asking for that. But he will never compromise on his request to the Lord in asking about devotional service. Please do not let that one thing away from me. You throw me in hell, you throw me in heaven, whatever you do, but give me opportunity only to serve you. But devotional service, please don't take away. That means what? He can even stay away from Krishna, but he cannot stay away from devotional service. It is that attractive. It's so powerful. Of course, when there is devotional service, there is also Krishna. It goes without saying. But it's just that the devotional service is so powerful that one does not need to be near Krishna. By his devotional service, Krishna will come near him, in other words. And in that way, he enjoys Krishna's association again, even though he is seemingly far away from him. So that is the power of devotional service. That's why in Vrindavan they say Radhe Radhe. Srimati Radharani, the word Radha comes from the word Aradhana. Aradhana means worship. So she is the personification of worship, Radha. So Srimati Radharani is a personification of worship, devotional service, and therefore they take shelter of her in order to go to Krishna. That is su-sukhaṁ, kleshagni. And Brahmabhuta prasannatma, evam prasanna manaso. So many words are used. And this is also there. 430, 430. Navyavad hridaye yajna. 434, 430, 34, sorry. 430, 34. Not this. What am I saying? 430, 20. Navyavadhridaye yajño brahmaitad brahmavadibhih namuhyanti na shochanti na hrisyanti yato gatah. Always engaged in the activities of devotional service, devotees feel ever increasingly fresh and new in all their activities. They all know the super soul within the heart of the devotee makes everything increasingly fresh. Su-sukhaṁ. This is known as the Brahman position of the advocates of the absolute truth. In such a liberated state, Brahma-bhuta, one is never bewildered, nor does one lament or become unnecessarily jubilant. This is due to the Brahma-bhuta situation. So, ever fresh. Nitya-nutanaha. Brahman Krishna kathaha punya madhvir lokamalapaha konu tripyeta shrinvanaha shrutagno nityanutanaha. Rukmini Devi is saying this, 10:52:20. What experienced listener, O Brahmana, could ever grow satiated while listening to the pious, charming, and ever fresh topics of Lord Krishna, which cleanse away the world's contamination? So, the word here is Nityanutanaha, always novel or always new. Nutana means new, ever fresh. Krishna is ever fresh, and his topics are ever fresh, his name is ever fresh. So that is su-sukhaṁ. So, okay, going back, as will be seen in Bhagavad-gītā, actual devotional service begins after liberation. After one is liberated, when one is situated in the Brahman position, Brahma-bhuta, one's devotional service begins. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. No one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, or any other yoga independently. Nasteva gatiranyatha. By these yogic methods, one may make a little progress toward bhakti yoga, but without coming to the stage of devotional service, one cannot understand what is the personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed that when becomes purified by executing the process of devotional service, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gītā from realized souls, then he can understand the signs of Krishna or the signs of God. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus, the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. So, it is su-sukhaṁ, right? It is full of happiness. But let's look at something. 11.3. This is what Prabhu shared today. 21. Tasmat gurum prapadyeta jignasu shreya uttamam shabde parecha nishnadam brahmanyapashamashrayam. Therefore, any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, should be understood to be bona fide spiritual masters. Now, here, commentaries of Sridhar Swami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur are mentioned. It's a very important verse, so there's an elaborate purport. Let me take you to that part where Prabhu quoted from. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if a spiritual master cannot destroy his disciples' doubts by superior knowledge, the disciple will gradually become despondent in spiritual life. No more su-sukhaṁ. He becomes despondent. When he becomes despondent, if the spiritual master cannot destroy his disciples' doubts by superior knowledge, the disciple will gradually become despondent in spiritual life. Because a bogus guru cannot actually give Krishna to the disciple, according to the principle of rāsa-vidyā rasopyasya. It is a higher taste. And if a spiritual master gives that, the disciple can easily, give up and he becomes enthusiastic, not despondent. The disciple will again become attracted to material happiness. So, because the bogus guru cannot actually give Krishna to the disciple according to the principle of rāsa-vidyā rasopyasya, the disciple will again become attracted to material happiness, not having achieved the bliss of Krishna's association. Such a weak disciple of a weak spiritual master will gradually become hopeless and discouraged in his attempt at self-realization and will again become fascinated by the temptations of illusions such as women, money, and so-called intellectually based speculation and imagination. Very, very important, isn't it? Now, there is a caveat to this. Now, a spiritual master, if he is not bona fide, he cannot sufficiently enlighten his disciple and eventually becomes despondent. And despondent in what? He may actually be very enthusiastic in material activities. And that is a sign of despondence in spiritual life. It's not that, he's now despondent. No, he's very happy in his material pursuits. He's not despondent. No. He is enthusiastic like a donkey. A donkey is very enthusiastic in, working hard because he thinks that the master will give some food. So that kind of enthusiasm is actually despondence in spiritual life or having no taste. Rāsa-vidyā rasopyasya. Param drishtva. One has to see the higher taste and then he can give rāsa-vidyā. He can give up this thing. But if he is having rasa, if he is having taste in the material activity, that means he is dry in the spiritual field. And that is a despondence in spiritual life. So, in the spiritual way, he becomes despondent. So, if the guru is not bona fide, this is what happens. Okay, so what about a disciple who is not bona fide, but the guru is bona fide? If the guru is bona fide, if the disciple is not bona fide, also the same result. Because the spiritual master is able to relieve the student of all doubts. But if this disciple is not very attached to the process, then the spiritual master is unable to, make him enthused. It's not the deficiency of the spiritual master here; it's the deficiency of the disciple. Therefore, both must be qualified in order for the disciple to achieve love of Godhead. See, for a woman to become pregnant, the man has to be potent and the woman has to be fertile. If the woman is fertile and if the man is not potent, there will be no pregnancy. If the man is potent and the woman is not fertile, also there will be no pregnancy. So, if both are, potent and fertile, then yes, pregnancy. So the prayojana, the goal is a child. So similarly, the spiritual master must be potent and the disciple must be fertile. What is the meaning of fertility? Spiritual fertility means that he is fertile with a lack of sinful reactions, or he's actually, the real thing is sincerity of purpose. Even if he's sinful, somehow if he's sincere, even to get the sincerity, one has to have some piety somewhere, ajnata sukriti somewhere. So the actual thing is sincerity of purpose. That is a symptom which we can easily detect. So how sincere one is? If one is sincere and serious about it, about solving his problems of life, then he's a fertile ground. Just like if the land is fertile, then the seed will actually, sprout into a plant and a tree. If the land is not fertile, the seed can be potent, but if the land is not fertile, then it will not. So even if the spiritual master is not unbona fide, if he is actually bona fide, the disciple can still face despondence in spiritual life. And I have shown this before. Yātayāmam, ayātayāmani, right? I hope you remember that. 1080-42. Very important. तुष्टोऽहं भोद्विजश्रेष्ठाः सत्याः सन्तु मनोरथाः छन्दांस्यजातयामानि भवन्त्विह परत्र च. You boys, actually this is Sandipani Muni, who is a spiritual master, and he's saying Tushtoham, I am satisfied. So the spiritual master here is satisfied. So when the spiritual master is satisfied by proper service, just like Krishna and Sudama went to the forest to get the firewood even in the storm. So by that he was satisfied, the spiritual master. So when a disciple satisfies the spiritual master with proper service, then chandam sayatayamani bhavantviha paratracha. You boys are first class Brahmanas and I am satisfied with you. May all your desires be fulfilled and may the Vedic mantras you have learned never lose their meaning for you in this world or the next. So here the word ayatayamani is used, never growing old, or ever fresh, or nitya nutana. So yatayamam means, if you can find this phrase in the 17th chapter, 10th verse of Bhagavad-gītā, which explains the food in the mode of ignorance. So yatayamam. So yatayamam gatarasam puti paryushitam chayat uchishtam api chamedhyam bhojanam tamasa priyam. This is 1710. Food in the mode of ignorance. Cooked food left sitting for 3 hours is called yatayama, indicating that it has lost its taste. Gatarasam. Gatarasam means the taste has gone away from this food. That means it's now tasteless. Gatarasam. Yatayamam gatarasam. So stale food which has lost its taste now, that will not happen to you. Ayatayamani chandamsi. Chandamsi means the shlokas, all these teachings of the Vedic teachings that one learns from the spiritual master will remain fresh only when we serve the spiritual master. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya aprasadan nagati kutopi. So cooked food left sitting for 3 hours is called yatayama, indicating that it has lost its taste. And similarly, if a devotee does not remain fixed in Krishna consciousness, The transcendental knowledge that once inspired him on the spiritual path will lose its taste or meaning for him. Thus, Santipani Muni blesses his disciples that the Vedic mantras which reveal the absolute truth will never lose their meaning for them, but will remain ever fresh in their minds. So, this su-sukhaṁ we can feel only if we keep on serving the spiritual master without any duplicity. Yeah, we have to be sincere in this purpose of serving the spiritual master in the association of devotee. When we say spiritual master, it's not that, oh, I will serve Prabhupada, I will not care for all these nonsense third class devotees. That's not the way to go about it. And Prabhupada is absolutely displeased by that attitude. So we have to do it in association of devotees. And sometimes it may be a little bit challenging, maybe because of my faults or somebody else's faults. But we have to tolerate all of that because we're all growing in devotional service. And cooperatively, we have to serve the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And as we serve like that, then yes, ayatayamani. We will always be enthusiastic, we will always be. So, utsaham, utsahan nischaya dhairyat. With utsaha, we have to perform devotional service. So that, how can we keep that going? By constant service to the spiritual master, by constant recital of Vedic literature, or by reading and constant chanting. All these things, everything has to be sincerely performed, not to show anybody else, but for our own purification. Then yes, su-sukhaṁ will be there. Otherwise, we can lose taste, even if the spiritual master is bona fide. Okay, I think I will stop it at there. I think it's 10:30. Okay. So, any questions or comments on this verse? Please only ask questions related to this topic. If you ask something else, I'm not going to answer that. I have spent too much time answering questions which are unrelated to the topic, and I will not entertain that. Because Prabhupada did not want it like that, and then it defeats the whole purpose of the class. So please ask questions in relation with the topic. Every time I see a question, I want to answer. That is my nature, but I will try to go against that nature of mine, and I will not answer the questions which are unrelated because it is not serving the purpose of the class. Okay? On an AM session, I wouldn't mind something which is, of course, reasonable questions, not some stupid nonsense question, like making just wasting everybody's time. Okay. People have their own understanding of the soul and don't give much importance to it. Yeah. But if they really understand, then they will have to give importance. Because of Maya, they're kept away. Okay, this is all about rāja-vidyā. Okay, just okay, so Divya Krishna Mataji is asking, Prabhuji, at neophyte stage, can we have all these experiences in various degrees or step by step, one after another? For example, sometimes being a neophyte while dealing with material people, somehow we bring topics related to Krishna, and similarly, while talking about Krishna to family members, we drift to past material events. Yeah, so all these experiences will gradually increase as we progress. So, for example, if I have progressed 2% in my devotional service, then I will have 2% of this kind of encouragement, and 98% I'm distracted, and if I'm like 50%, then 50-50. If I'm 75-25, then it's like that. So it's all proportional. At all stages, the attraction is there to Krishna, even at the very Shraddha stage. Otherwise, one will not stick to the process and go further. So, of course, there has to be some taste. But the ruchi becomes much more pronounced when it is in a later stage. But that ruchi is there always. Some very slightly maybe, but it is there. So it will increase and increase, and once it is very prominent, then it is called ruchi stage, like that, asakti and all these things. How to differentiate ruchi and asakti here? Well, I think we have gone through that. So anyway, when one goes to that stage, then he will realize even more. Like, I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that in the Madhurya Kadambini book. Maybe one can read that for further study. So, okay, this is already shared. Great commentators on Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam like Sridhar Swami, Hemadri, Lakshmidhara were Advaitins and forerunners of Bhakti. No, Sridhar Swami is not an Advaitavadi. Some people, they think he's Advaitavadi, he's not. He's actually a devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu testified for that. He is actually a devotee. He's not just Advaitavadi. He sometimes people do mistake him for Advaitavadi, but he's not. And you say great commentators on Bhagavatam, our Advaitavadis, forerunners of Bhakti. No, you're getting it wrong. So in Kali Yuga, this happens. That Advaitavad comes. Okay, if you say they are the forerunners, what about Krishna when he was there? He had devotees, no? They are the Arjuna is the forerunner of all these Sridhar Swami or all these people. What do you say? So who is the forerunner of who? So see, time moves in cycles. Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali, and again Satya. So every Kali Yuga, there is so many disturbing elements in the religious sphere. And Advaita, this philosophy also is a disturbance that comes in Kali Yuga. Kalau Brahmana Murtina. He comes in Kali Yuga to do this. Advaita, Shankaracharya. So these things happen in Kali Yuga. So they are not forerunners of Bhakti. Bhakti is always them. Brahma is the forerunner of anybody else, right? So he said Ishvara Parama Krishna. He was not Advaitavadi. So who is the forerunner here? So Sanatan Dharma means it is not. There is no date, undated. Whereas his Advaitavad philosophy came with Shankaracharya and only comes in Kali Yuga. Of course, there's some inclination towards it all the time, but it is there. Especially Shankaracharya, he came about with this. So it's not fact. How can we comprehend Sri Vaishnavas glorifying moksha? See, sometimes moksha is glorified even in Bhagavatam. When it is compared to lower forms like karma, dharma, artha, kama, of course, moksha, is glorified. I think there is a verse like that. Um, um, let me find this verse for you. Mm. 22:35. Tatrapi moksha evato. Okay, let's see the verse before it. 4:22:34. Nakuryat karhi chitsangam tamas tivram titirishuhu dharmarthakama mokshanam yadatyanta vighatakam. Those who strongly desire to cross the ocean of nations must not associate with the modes of ignorance, for hedonistic activities are the greatest obstructions to realization of religious principles, economic development, regulated sense gratification, and at last liberation. So hedonistic activities are obstructions even for ordinary, like even material religious principles, economic development, regulated sense gratification, and at last liberation. तत्रापि मोक्ष एवार्थ आत्यन्तिकत येष्यते त्रैवर्ग्योऽर्थो यतो नित्यं कृतान्त भयं संयुतः. Out of the four principles, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, liberation has to be taken very seriously. The other three are subject to destruction by the stringent law of nature, death. So when you take these four, then of course liberation is to be taken very seriously. But if you see moksha laghutakrit, devotional service is moksha laghutakrit. So, a devotee does not take my liberation very seriously. But does that mean he's actually a materialist? No, because you see this verse we just saw, Kleshagni, Moksha Laghuta Krit. Krishna. Where did it become? Okay, see this Moksha Laghuta Krit. That means it reduces the importance of liberation. Uh, that is bhakti. So that's why he's not interested in liberation because he's much above that already. Whereas if you among the four, yes, moksha has to be taken seriously. One has to be liberated from this material entanglement. We also say that many times, right? We should be humanity should be focusing on how to liberate itself from the material entanglement and going back to the kingdom of God. So although that is stated to tell, of course, there's a higher aspect that a devotee does not even want liberation; he wants this devotional service. So it is not exactly opposed, but Sri Vaishnava, I mean real Sri Vaishnavas, they will of course say bhakti because if you see Mukundamala Stotra written by Kulashekar Alvar, who is from the Sri Sampradaya, and there he says, "Naham vande tava charanayor कुम्भीपाकं गुरुमभिहरे नारकं नापनेतुं रम्या रामा मृदुतनुलतानन्दनेनापिरन्तुं भावे भावे हृदयभवने भावयेयं भवन्तम्." There's a beautiful verse. It is not to be saved from the dualities of material existence, which is above the dvandva, which is advandva, just liberation, this impersonal liberation, moksha. It is not to be saved from the dualities of material existence or the grim tribulations of the Kumbhipaka hell that I pray to your lotus feet. Nor is my purpose to enjoy the soft-skinned, beautiful women who reside in the gardens of heaven. I pray to your lotus feet only so that I may remember you alone in the core of my heart, birth after birth. So he is not actually after liberation. He's saying birth after birth, but I just want to be your servant. The next verse also. नास्था धर्मेण वसुनिचयेनैव कामोपभोगे यद्भाव्यं तद्भवतु भगवन् पूर्वकर्मानुरूपम् एतत् प्रार्थ्यं मम बहुमतं जन्म जन्मान्तरेऽपि त्वत्पादाम्भोरुहयुगगता निश्चला भक्तिरस्तु. Have no attachment for religiosity, which is dharma or artha or kama. Let these come as they inevitably must, in accordance with my past deeds. But I do pray for this most cherished boon, birth after birth. Again, that means liberation is also not in the question, not in the ask list or wish list of Kulashekar. But I do pray for this most cherished boon, birth after birth. Let me render unflinching devotional service under your lotus feet, two lotus feet. So, yeah, this is Sri Sampradaya. So, they're not really glorifying moksha as if it is higher than even bhakti. But okay, so I guess that answers that. Srimad Padma Puran Shloka mentioned in Madhya does not appear in 2 out of 4 recensions of Srimad Padma Puranam, both of which are Vangiya, Bengal, from Bengal. You mean Aprarabdha Phalam Papam? Is that the one? Why does the so-called Srimad Padma Purana Shloka only appear in the Vangiya recensions and not the Dravida recensions? Well, I do not know, honestly, how the changes come about. Even there are other sometimes something, some slight differences are there. See, the thing is, explanation is given by Jiva Goswami that many Puranas are not complete. Bhagavatam is one of the rare Puranas which are complete. Nothing is missing. Some other Puranas, even Kurma Puran, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also says that not everything we have is the, I mean, not, we don't have the Kurma Puran in its entirety, and some other Puranas as well. So that may explain why. So maybe some parts, some reproductions, they had certain, parts of it and not certain parts. So like that. So otherwise, I mean, there is no reason for acharyas to quote something manufactured, because if they really want to manufacture verses, they can always manufacture. They compose so many verses, right? So they would not need to do that unless they saw it. They wouldn't tell us, right? Like the Kurma Puran verses of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he tells that Brahmana that um, Hanuman, it was Maya Sita that Ravana took and not the real Sita. This is not even mentioned in the Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana. It's mentioned in this Kurma Puran, and apparently that verse is not to be found in the Kurma Puran that is currently available. So, you know, so I think that's where I think Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes or something like that. I don't know if I saw there that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes. Mm, you see, here, chapter 9, Madhulila 9.200. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks there are only two khandas of the Kurma Puran are now available, namely the Purva Khanda and Uttara Khanda. Sometimes it is said that the Kurma Puran contains 6,000 verses, but according to Srimad Bhagavatam, the original Kurma Puran contains 17,000 verses. It is considered the 15th of the 18 Mahapuranas. So these kind of things are happening. So these are some of the realities of the Vedic literature that we have. We don't have them in their entirety. So sometimes there may be, therefore, some dissensions which may not contain those slokas. If the instruction is not properly followed by disciples, spiritual master can't convince the knowledge to the disciple. True. Is there a lecture series on Bhagavad-gītā from starting for a beginner? Yes. Actually, that's what I did. So we are usually on Sunday programs and like that, we just choose a random verse and do. But I have started, I think, since I have started this, I think in 2016 or 2017, where I started Bhagavad-gītā from introduction, verse by verse, verse by verse, and now we're in the ninth chapter, second verse. So I'm going every verse by verse. So actually, on our YouTube channel ISKM TV, you know, it is it is there. We have playlists, chapter-wise playlists. You can go and follow like that. He's saying you can be both. I don't know what you mean. Whether maybe impersonal and personal. Well, certainly not. Either you're impersonal or you're personal. Once you're convinced of the personal feature, you cannot be impersonal. I don't know actually what you're saying by you can be both. So, okay. From today's verse, we see that bhakti is the highest and the only way to God. But how to deal with people saying yatamat tatapat? Should we make them understand that all other ways lead to bhakti? Yeah, actually, I mean, this is the thing that not all paths lead to the same goal. The paths laid out in the Vedic literature, lower paths like karma yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, or even some others. So all these rules they serve, they are supposed to. They will ultimately reach the same, yes, but in a much more arduous way rather than an easy way, which is bhakti. The end of such processes. So suppose if I'm doing karma yoga, the end of such karma yoga is to get jnana. What is that? Sarvan karmakhilan partha jnane parisamapyate. And the jnana will lead to bhakti. I mean, real jnana. I mean, the proper jnana, not the speculative knowledge. So, every other process, yes, will lead you to that same goal, but in a step by step fashion. That too, if you, not yatamat athapat, not yatamat, not that whatever path I invent. No, no. Whatever path is mentioned in the Vedas, that will ultimately lead you to bhakti, but it may go through step by step stages. That path will only take you to the next level, and then that path will take you to the next level and next level, like that. But with bhakti, you're going one shot, just like an elevator directly to the highest floor. Whereas if you climb the stairs, then you will climb the stairs. You will go step by step, step by step. So that is what is mentioned. So that's how we have to understand. Swamiji, first of all, I'm not Swamiji. I'm not a sannyasi, only a brahmachari. Swamiji, if one is living alone and not having association with devotees, then how to develop strong faith in Krishna consciousness? It's not easy. It's actually not easy. Um, so at least we have online resources now where we can associate to a certain extent, and then we have to put those teachings, whatever we have heard, into our practice in our life. If we sincerely apply all that we have learned in our life, then we are actually in association with pure devotees. See what happens in the association of devotees. Why it is so potent? Of course, there are classes, then we can hear, but also when we go wrong, they correct us, or when we are slackening, they will push us. That is the guardrail that keeps us from falling into Maya. But if I choose to sincerely follow the instructions without slackening, without, I mean, by completely following all these rules and regulations, then I will have the full advantage of associating with devotees. Now, just like, for example, Srila Prabhupada's association, we all miss, right? When Prabhupada was around physically, when his disciples were going off track at any time, he would personally intervene and correct them and bring them back to the proper understanding and the proper mode of action. But now that he is physically not present, it is incumbent upon us to, you know, act properly according to his instructions. But as long as we follow his instructions, we have his association. Now, we may not all the time have a physical association, and this is why Vani is very important. Even if I am in the presence of the physical spiritual master, then even if I don't follow my instruction, his instruction, and even he may try to save me, I can still fall away. But it is difficult to fall away because he directly controls our life by engaging. I mean, by uh, advising us accordingly or instructing us accordingly. When it's not there, then we have to remember those teachings and act on them, and then we will have the full, you know, benefit of associating with the devotees. So, what I would suggest is, although it is difficult, but try to read Prabhupada's books every day, chant Hare Krishna, eat only Krishna Prasadam, do your morning program, which is Mangalarati, Tulsi Puja, um, chanting, japa, and then Guru Puja, and class, morning class. So if we do these things, then there's no way we will fall away. And if we sincerely and apply these things in our life, taking it seriously, then you know you'll be all right. Easier said than done, I know, but we have to try. And then Pray to Krishna to give us association of devotees. Dhanya Kali Yuga. I meant Bhakti movement in Dhanya Kali Yuga. I don't know what you're talking about. Sri Vaishnavas and Madhvas never quote the Srimad Padma Purana shloka in their rebuttals of Advaita Vedantam. Okay. But just because the Gaudiya Vaishnavas they quote, that doesn't mean it's wrong or something. And even otherwise, there are so many shlokas, right? I don't know actually which shloka you're talking about, by the way. Madhya Leela shloka. What exact shloka are you talking about? I want to know if you can share that. I'm going to. I'm a college going student, so you're chanting in your hostel room, and the other students start teasing me and calling me names. So how to deal? You just take them as titles, good titles. Durvadam Anughoshayantu. Durvadam Parighoshayantu Manujaha. Vamse Kalankostuva. Vamse Kalankostuva. So this thing. Let the common people spread evil gossip about me and my family's reputation be sullied. For a madman like me, it is honor enough to feel this flood of love of Godhead which brings such sweet emotions of attraction for my Lord. So you just have to tolerate with them. What to do? Just because they say something doesn't mean they're right, isn't it? So just ignore them, I mean, or just accept them in a sporting spirit. Yeah, okay, good. If a madman calls me a madman, then I will take it as a compliment. You just tell them, "You're a madman," and you are calling me a madman. That I take it as a compliment. If a madman calls me a good man, that means something is wrong with me. So if I'm a good man in the eyes of a bad man, so but if I'm a bad man in the eyes of a bad man, then I'm a good man. Negative and two negatives make it a positive, no? How a neophyte devotee who just started practicing Krishna consciousness get knowledge of Shastras like you? Please guide from begging. How can we get deep knowledge of Shastras? Please guide from beginning how to get deep knowledge of Shastras like you. Okay, I don't have much deep knowledge, but we just have to, it's again the same thing. We have to tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshantu te jnanam jnanena sattvadarshana. So we have to surrender to the spiritual master first. Surrender means I should be willing to do whatever the spiritual master asks me to do. So that is surrender. And I cannot just you know, say, I will not surrender, I still want the knowledge. No, we have to surrender to the process. Otherwise, we cannot realize this knowledge. It's not possible. Prakasastu karmanyabhyasat, that Vedanta Sutra quote that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning. So, by practice, by devotional practice, then we will get pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ. And of course, this is whatever I'm quoting, whatever I have learned, whatever I'm sharing, is what we have learned for, 17, 18 years. And I would actually say that I did not learn enough as much as I should. I did not pay as much attention as I should have. So, if I were to go back, I would have done it a little bit differently. I would have spent more time reading and organizing my study and everything. So anyway, but the point is this: it's so happened over many years, and constant reading and constant reflection and discussion with other devotees. This is the way it goes. and following the instructions as much as is possible, and as much as is, not as much as possible, because we always give ourselves a very low benchmark. Whatever is possible, that means not whatever is comfortable. Possible and comfortable are two levels. Sometimes we equate them. Whatever is comfortable for me, I say that is possible for me. No, there is more that is possible from you, which is not comfortable, but you can do if you push yourself. So that is what we mean by as much as possible, not as much as is comfortable for you. So, so if we push ourselves like that, then yeah, definitely. Main thing is the yasya deva parabhakti yatha deve tatha guru. So then prakashante mahatmanah. What's that? Yasya deva parabhakti yatha deve tatha guru. Tasyaite katitha hyartha prakashante mahatmanah. Those who have unflinching faith in the spiritual master and Krishna, for them these purports are automatically revealed. Prabhuji's Vaishnavism objected towards attainment of moksha or to be an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord. No, we're not against liberation or eternal association of the Supreme Lord. But to ask for those also from the Lord is to seek a favor from the Lord. A devotee's mood is that he doesn't want to ask anything from the Lord. He doesn't want to disturb the Lord with his desires, even to the point of associating personal association of the Lord. He doesn't find himself qualified to attain personal association of the Lord. So he is simply asking the Lord, I don't want to disturb you too much with my desires. Please give me just the chance to serve you. I don't even ask to be with you in the spiritual world, because I don't find myself qualified in the first place, and I don't want to demand anything. So that's the pure devotional service. Ahai Tuki means he's not even asking for liberation. That is pure devotional service, where his only motive is to serve the Lord, make the Lord happy, even at the detriment of my, you know, well-being. Of course, there is no such thing as detriment of our well-being if we are serving the Lord. But Radharani says, if Krishna gets great pleasure by putting me in distress, that distress is my greatest happiness, because Krishna is happy. But his happiness is at the cost of my happiness. Means I have to be in distress in order for him to become happy. If that is the case, if at all, then I accept that distress as my greatest happiness, because Krishna is happy with that. If Krishna becomes happy by putting me into hell, if that's what he wants, then I will accept it. Just like Bali Maharaj, he went into hell, Sutala planet. Bali Maharaj accepted, and for that he is Mahajan, one of the 12 greatest authorities in the universe on Bhakti Yoga. How is that possible? So we're not against it. Of course, Krishna will give, and that is in fact in the realm of devotional service. But devotee does not ask even for that. That is pure devotional service. Ahai Tuki. Please guide how to get deep knowledge of Shastra. Like, please guide from beginning what to hear, whom to hear from, to hear, and what to read in sequence from zero to getting full knowledge. Like, I don't have full knowledge. I have a lot and a lot to learn. And what to read in sequence. The general sequence is that first Bhagavad-gītā. Of course, you can read the smaller books first, and then the Science of Self-Realization, and then the Bhagavad-gītā, and then Srimad Bhagavatam, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can, after Bhagavad-gītā, you can read Nectar of Devotion and Krishna book if you want, and then Teaching of Lord Chaitanya you can read, and then Srimad Bhagavatam, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you can go in this order. Of course, Nectar of Instruction is also something you have to read somewhere in between, somewhere after Bhagavad-gītā maybe, or even before Bhagavad-gītā, but after Bhagavad-gītā would be, I would say. Once you get an understanding of devotional life, then you can start reading. And it's not just like once you read and you have this knowledge. Okay, now I have read all Prabhupada's books, I know everything. No, you can read them 100 times and you get newer and newer things, newer and newer realizations from the same text. So you're never actually completed in your study. You're always learning. Do we pray to Vishwaksena as Sri Vaishnavas do? Not really. We just pray to Narasimhadev. Vishwaksena is the spiritual Ganesh. Ganesh in the spiritual world. But we pray to Narasimhadev. I'm talking about Madhya 6.182. So let's go 6.182. I don't know, is it in conjunction with today's topic? Mayavadam asatshastram prachannam bauddhamuchate mayaiva vihitam devi kalam brahmanamurtina. Oh, this they don't quote? Well, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted this to him, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya fell silent. This is the actual verse which convinced Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So, it's interesting. That this is not found in the Sri Vaishnava thing. Anyway, I have not gone through the manuscripts of Padma Puran. I have not. I've just accepted it on, on this verse itself. But then again, this verse is a quotation from the Padma Puran Uttarakhanda, 25th chapter, 7th verse. Well, I have to do the research on this one. Then only I can comment more. I can make a more informed comment. But again, we have other verses also, no? In the 7.110 Adi 7.110. Brahmanaschaparam Rupam. So this is Vedante tu Mahashastram Mayavadam Avaidikam. This Mayavadam Shastram is only this much, but then after that there are two more verses. All together is quoted here, and then also in the Shiva Puran, the Lord Supreme. Now this is also the exact number is not given here, but we have to search this verse also. Shiva Puran. Dvaparadau yuge bhutva kalaya manushadishu swagamai kalpitaistvam cha janan madvamukhan kuru. In Kali Yuga, mislead the people in general by propounding imaginary meanings for the Vedas to bewilder them. These are the descriptions of the Puranas. So Shiva Puran says apparently this one. So all this has to be like. And then again, Padma Puran, again, there's another. Shrunudevi pravakshami tamasani yatha kramam yesham shravanamatrena patityam jnanamapi apartham shrutima vakyanam darshayal lokagarhitam karma swarupatyagyatvam atra cha pratipadyate sarvakarma paribhramshan naishkarmyam tatra chochate paratma jivayoraikyam mayatra pratipadyate. So again, it's talking about the Mayavad philosophy. Even an advanced scholar will fall down if he reads. So these are the things. Of course, we have to, if we can have the number exactly which chapter, which verse, will be nice. But it is there. I mean, I don't know how come it is not there. So anyway, I explained the reason why this kind of discrepancies sometimes happen. So I don't know if that is the cause. Maybe. Prabhuji, can Bhagavatam free us from Pitra dosha? Every dosha that we have is gone with Bhagavatam study. So you get, a dosha means, fault, mistake, or, inauspiciousness. But that is caused because of our lack of surrender for Krishna and our resultant sinful activities. Now, if you become Krishna's servants, all doshas are nullified. So please read Bhagavatam, but first read Bhagavad-gītā and then go to only Bhagavatam. You can be Advaitan and Bhakta both, then you're talking nonsense. We can't. I mean, a Bhakta, he knows the Advaita feature. of the Lord. It's not that he's denying the Advaita feature of the Lord, the light, Brahmajyoti. He's not contesting that. But he's saying impersonal feature is a feature of the Lord, subordinate feature of the Lord, but it is ultimately the Bhakta, the Bhagavan is the supreme. That's the thing. But you can't profess Mayavadi philosophy and at the same time be Bhakta. That is, then you're talking nonsense. My birth chart showing I'm Rakshas Gan, I feel hurted after knowing about it. So again, please ask questions related to the topic. What are you talking about? You feel hurt? That means this is foolish, no? Then you don't understand that you're not the body. Prahlad was a Rakshas. Anyway, in the Rakshasa family, the Daitya family. But was he hurt? No, he just became a devotee of Krishna. So what if you're a Rakshas or what? Please, ask questions related. Don't ask unrelated nonsense questions, please. What if God did not exist? Then you also wouldn't exist. Because you are existing, God exists. You are very fond of using straw man arguments and personal insults instead of making constructive critiques of Advaita Vedantam. If you are coming here to challenge, please go away before I hurl even further insults. Okay? You don't know anything, first of all. You don't have a proper guru. Who's your guru? You don't have a guru. Don't talk nonsense. Come here. You may say I'm insulting. Don't like you. Don't come here. Na. Find somebody who doesn't insult you. I will insult. If anybody talks nonsense, I have to present it. And if you feel insulted, that's your problem. I'm just telling the fact here. Okay? Don't come and challenge me. This is not the forum for that. Okay? If you want to learn something, you learn. Otherwise, if you want to challenge, then up to you. Everything will be tested at the time of death, by the way. You can win an argument with me now or whatever it is. But if this is the attitude you come with, then I will not entertain your arguments at all. What straw man argument are you talking about? Huh? Then why did Shankaracharya said Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Modhamate? You are just coming up with rubbish nonsense arguments. So you mean to say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also strawman argument, what is this? Ramanujacharya strawman argument, Madhvacharya strawman argument. Defeat them na. Defeat them before you talking anything. Huh? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu strawman argument, is it? This Prakashanand Saraswati Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. Please mind your tongue and mind your fingers as you type these nonsense comments on the channel. Okay. You are basically deriding all those acharyas who have presented, and you are deriding even Shankaracharya himself, because Shankaracharya himself said, "Bhajagovindam Mudhamata." This Mudhamate, like you, Bhajagovindam. Okay, you feel insulted? That's up to you. I don't care. The Shankaracharya said, "You are Advaitavad," the one who professed it. So, nahi nahi rakshate dukkhin karane. This will all not save you. One old man was, kind of studying the grammar and all this. Shankaracharya said, stop it. Then he composed this Mohamudgara. Organized debate. Maybe at some other time. Not interested at this point. Again, first of all, who's your guru? You don't even have a guru. Yeah, we can debate. We will debate, but not this forum. This is not the forum. I'm giving a class here. So you want to debate, go somewhere else to debate. Okay. Don't come and waste everybody's time. Okay, Sachin Deshwal. Probably someone argues with me about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that if Krishna comes only once in a day of Brahma, then how Krishna came himself second time as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Please guide me. As Krishna, he comes once. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he comes once. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is the answer. As Krishna, he comes once. Even seek for liberation is considered a wish in the mode of passion. Salokya Murti, correct me, Prabhuji, if I'm wrong. So Dimitri is saying even the desire to know more about Krishna is not completely pure. 327:27 purport. Yeah, because ultimately the only reason why we are learning more about Krishna, more about these things, is because to convince ourselves. That is the reason. And whatever is revealed by the acharyas. But ultimately, it should the highest thing is to just be wanting to serve Krishna. That's the highest. Hmm. Advaitavad actually doesn't make any sense, even logical sense, even any sense actually. There's no use of any straw man arguments. We don't invent some position and then defeat that, and that's a straw man argument. We don't do that actually. The Advaitavad, whatever they say, that itself has so many faults. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have gone through all this and how Prabhupada actually explains in the purports. He quotes the Vedanta Sutra and how Shankaracharya interpreted it and why it is wrong and how he's so contradicting himself. Everything. I mean, point for point, he was explaining. So you can read. You don't read first of all Vaishnava literature. You only read Advaitavadi. This. Who Jai Shri Ram. Your name is Jai Shri Ram and you're talking nonsense. Huh? I mean, at least your account name is Jai Shri Ram. So you know, you have to read first of all. I mean, our Vaishnava literature. You are just reading here and there and putting strawman arguments for us. So don't do that. Huh? You first read our books perfectly, all books. Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, you read first. Huh? You haven't read anything and then talking nonsense here in this forum. Probably I've read somewhere that Vedanta Society established by Swami Vivekananda speaks about helping human beings on account of karma yoga, thus the super soul residing within. So, what can we conclude? He's talking nonsense now. This is called Manav Seva, Madhav Seva. No, that is wrong. Madhav Seva is Manav Seva. Once Madhava is served, then Manav is automatically served. Yes, the super soul, how to serve? What is actually service? Service to the body or service to the soul? Hmm. You see, this is the nonsense. This is complete rubbish. So this is exactly what I'm saying. You are actually a nonsense. This is just Jai Um, CC is hagiography. This is how a materialist. So materialist sees the glorification of the Lord. Same thing they will say. Krishna Bhagavatam is also a hagiography of Krishna. Krishna was just a historical person. He was glorified beyond any. I mean, exaggerated glorification of such a person, and that way everything is a hagiography. So this is this is the exact reason why people like you cannot understand. Because avajananta mamudha. This is exactly the Krishna already said in Bhagavad-gītā 9:11 for people like you. Avajananta mamudha manusham tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Persons who think that I'm an ordinary human being and you know anything that is like, told in a exaltation about me or glorifying me, it's just only an exaggeration and therefore it's a hagiography or hagiography or whichever way you pronounce it. It's that. So that is exactly mudha. So you are a mudha by definition, by Krishna's definition. So that's what you are. Bhagavad Pad may not have undergone Upanayanam, so Brahmana Murtina cannot apply. He taught in Sannyas Rupam without Shikha and Upavita as did Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So what? So what? It's still Brahmana, Sannyas means it doesn't mean it's not Brahmana, Get it first right. Only for Brahmanas there is sannyas. For Kshatriyas there is no sannyas. So Brahmana, what is the meaning of Brahmana? You know? Brahma janatiti brahmana. Maybe you forgot. Yeah. He who knows Brahman, he is Brahmana. But I think responding to your comments is a complete waste of time because you are not coming with the proper mood at all. You have no pariprashna, no pariprashnena. You have just challenging nonsense arguments, basically straw man, stupid arguments. So there was a what is that Gujarati Brahmin called Lakulish, who was a proponent of Hatha Yoga, Tatra Shastra, or Tantra, Hatha Yoga and Tantra Shastra, and considered Paramashiva, Paramashiva. He taught that the world is Maya. Srimad Padma Purana Shloka and others you quoted are about him. Okay, you can, Hare Krishna. You can believe whatever you want. Hare Krishna. All right. Not always I'm glad, not always I can be present. Yeah, I'm actually not seeing you much these days. I'm thinking what happened. Maybe you're working nowadays, I don't know. But yeah, nice to have your association. Satam prasangan, mama virya samvido, bhavanti hritkarana rasayana katha. Topics of Krishna are pleasurable in the company of devotees, not in the company of people like this who this Jai Shri Ram account, who just come to don't have any understanding of anything and say some nonsense. It's not very enjoyable in their company, so I think we can just ignore him. Ramakrishna gave analogy of water and ice for analogy of Nirakar and Sakar. He said, first we need to meditate on the Sakar form, whether it is Krishna, Kali, Shiva, does not matter, and our ultimate goal is Nirakara. I mean, that's the problem with these people. It is all in Nirakara. It is based. Is it based on any Shastra? So he must quote now. You ask him whether it is based on you. Ask him to quote. Why you ask me to quote? Once what happened? Somebody asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, Vivekananda said, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. What is the goal that he is talking about? Prabhupada said, you ask him now, why you ask me? You ask him to clarify. So similarly, if he is saying this thing, ask him to quote ice and water example. You quote. What's your stand on Sadguru Vasudev? Ray, please ask questions according to the subject of the class. I told you this many, many times. How many times you want? I'm not going to answer your question. We already said we made videos about it. We need enough. We don't need this. Huh? I'm not going to answer. Please learn how to ask questions first. All right. So thank you very much. Jai Bhagavad-gītā ki jai. Prem Kumar, Prabhuji, please bless that most fallen soul Jai Shri Ram account. I think he should start chanting Jai Shri Ram more often. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Antakori Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.